Good afternoon. Hello, hello. It's okay, Dr. Lord. I was only speaking to the Europeans, of course. Hello, Ralph Wiggum. I am skipping Arena Kings today. Eric's streaming that on Hanson Air. I'm skipping Arena Kings though. Warming up and then doing a session with Toph. You guys remember Toph? We're doing some coaching, chess, boxing, staying fresh. How's the left hook? I'm gonna work on it later today, KevBot. E5. Wow. Feels crazy to allow this. Yeah, it's got to take that. I'm really thinking about doing that and going and castling. It's probably crazy though. It actually feels like the right move, but I don't think I am a strong enough player to execute it correctly. So let's find out. Something about this, I have a feeling I'm not going to be converting this well. Knight a5 is actually surprisingly annoying. I think it's so important to keep this bishop. That could be the wrong vibe. He's just gonna long castle or what? This move. Jeez Louise. I'm not sure I have anything there, actually. I actually don't think I do. It's damn tempting, though. I have to try one of these. It was almost mate, that's why I was looking at it. Draw? It's at least a draw here. King here, 96. Queen there, 95. And he just brings the bishop back, you know? Like, even king here, knight e6, bishop back, right? And yeah, I can take this, but I'm not better after that, right? I have to take a draw. A very interesting first draw, yes. Playing a Maya Jane Cole's set. It's... I think it's a good sign if all the draws in my life could be like that. If I can do that, then I think I'm happy. I wish I win knight d7 now because there's a nice idea to take with this pawn, but I can't actually do it now. These positions are known to be a bit better for white. I'm gonna put this knight here. Again, position is just not good, so we're in a tough spot already. Oh yeah, knight d5, and I need this move, but I'm not sure I have time for it. Queen here, or queen here. King h6. Queen d4. King h6. Me hoping that this will work. Talk about sketchy. Good morning, everyone. Hey, Cycling Box. What's up, Meta Nick? And we got our basketball draft done yesterday. Set for the season. It's annoying that, you know, I can't bring my king right back into safety. So I'm probably going to have to go queen e5. Queen h4, king g7. I feel like we're pretty much doing okay here. e4, I'll go f4. You should probably go f4 and e4 objectively. g4 was probably a move coming in next from him. Have to watch that. Looks like a good move to me. I think we're gonna have to take that. e5, we'll just go back. Not the end of the world. Our position could be better. I won't lie. I mean, the move looks annoying, but perhaps it's playable. I want check and rook here. Try to get some activity. Verta. I have to watch Queen A7 check here. I'd love to play King H6. F4 was covered by him. Let's just do this. He's checking and going Queen H4 all of a sudden. Damn. These are some... That was... I don't know if I'm better there in that position, but it's definitely the best position I've had all game. It's very close. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of very close, it's pretty much equal. Happy Pedal. Thanks for 20 months. Pennywise. Thanks for the Prime for 2 months. A Pistola. Jammerlam. Headed to try a new gym today. Not like instead of the other one, but in conjunction with. So that's always exciting. Is that like a way that people ask how boxing training is going? I feel like everyone does it. Hey Amon, how's the left hook? How's that right coming? I feel like it's the culturally accepted way to ask how training is. People like to try to sound so cash with it. Hey Mon, how's that left hook? GM Talks YouTube. You what, mate? GM Talks YouTube. I think if you don't ask, like if you just say, "Hey man, how's chess boxing going?" you sound like you don't throw punches yourself. But when you say like, "Are those rights coming?" It sounds like you throw them yourself. You know, your culture. How are those rights coming that I also can throw very well? You're concerned about my cardio? How could you be concerned about my cardio? I sit in a streaming chair 10 hours a day. My cardio should be great. Let's get this back. A little bishop f6 for the boys. Might happen, indeed. He's definitely eyeballing that. Castling feels like a very frightening thing to do here. But I'm not afraid. I might even go King H8 and Knight G8. Surprisingly. I'm really looking at this. Knight g8. Although I still feel like it's not survivable. Do stuff like that. Suppose taking is indeed possible. I think knight takes h5 was playable there at least. Maybe it wasn't great. I've king g8 after knight g6, queen g5, queen f6, but at least we have a square for knight here. Rook d8 actually threatens to go d4 here. Could indeed be a plan. He's watching the only weakness in his position, so it's admittedly tough to make progress here. We want to go here. Now I can get this moving. You might want to take here. That's okay though. You can take that. Huh. That's a big blunder. I'm just happy to win those time scrambles. Like, I always think in the back of my head, oh, I'm gonna flag somehow here. So it's always a pleasant surprise that it's actually my opponent's time running out there. Is that right, matriarchal? You know, why the hell not? G4 for the boys. G4 for the boys. Let's get castled. Bishop h3 energy. Hello to Spenny Thompson, 27 months, tier 3. Thank you, Spencer. G4, G5 feels kind of fun here. Got some knight e4 on the horizon. Also bishop h3. I can take and take on e5, but that's not it's not that special. We can go here, bishop e6, queen h4, but then I think the knight jumps in. So it definitely feels like we should take knight here, force that back. But then what? That's what I'm wondering. It's like I only got this far. Stop that? I don't really know. It's like I want to move this knight and hit that guy on h5. Bishop f5, knight g3, perhaps. Okay, but this is good for me. This is definitely good for me. No question about it. Okay. Keep it going. A5. Here they might follow b5. F4 probably needs to happen here. All my pawns definitely feel like they're gonna be potentially falling here. Ooh. Yeah. You're slow. I know you're slow. I know he's slow. I know he's slow because he wanted to take a draw in an opposite bishop endgame when he was up time and up a pawn. So in that case, it's like, wait, hang on a sec. Gotta turn the jets on now. Gotta turn the jets on. Hmm. Let's turn that up. Whoa! Hey, stop that. Hmm. Knight takes, queen here. Probably force the knight back. I think our position is just much better here. As soon as he moves the bishop, there follows g4. If I go h5, maybe h4, knight g5. I want to be sure before allowing something like that. Yeah, let's go for it. Pen MC, thanks for the 2 years. Tier 3 from Pen MC. Thank you to Big Pen. I also want to do this, and yeah, if he wins the exchange, he wins the exchange. I could decide to move the rook and give up a pawn, though. That's probably the nicer way of doing it. His moves are so strange here. If he takes here, I can also take that. What the hell is he doing? Now I'm threatening this. I think he has to take. Or he's gonna, I see, he's gonna throw the knight in here and just leave it there. There's no way. There's no way this game is survivable for white. Look at these. What are these developing moves? No shot. $95. H4 is now also a move. No shot, buddy. This is a threat. I mean, the position's dead. It's been dead for a while. GG's. I would play some more, but looks like Toph is ready. Not going to keep the man waiting. It's a lot earlier for him as well. 3-hour time difference, I think. So can't keep the man waiting. But Toph is also chess boxing. And we were going to look at some chess today. Obviously, the chess is, you know, for him, like it's more like a coaching session, but I think you guys can get a lot out of it. Toph's about 1800 chess.com. But obviously his level can fluctuate. I think 1800 is a good level because it's better than most of you, but you guys will still see his moves and be like, oh, these moves suck. Like, oh, why didn't you play this? Oh, how could you possibly miss that? When realistically, he could clap everyone in here. All right, let's see if we can grab Toph in here.
Yo.
Hey, what's up, dude?
What's up, dude? All right, one sec. Let me give you my camera. I got to do the whole song and dance.
Yeah. We got to do it.
Watching. I was on Trent's Twitter because people said you should go check out Trent's Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm watching those. Have you seen his Twitter?
I've seen him.
What do you think? And I'm here now.
There you are.
All right.
Here, let me do the song and dance before I get into it as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me get Toph's cam up for you guys.
Yep. What's up, everybody? This is like the earliest. I should say this is like one of the earliest streams I've done. But this is dope because I'm already getting a bunch of East Coast guys who never tune in. So, what's up, everybody, and everybody on the Chess Pro side?
I like the early stream energy. You know, I've actually been waking up the last week for commentary, but it's kind of put me on a good schedule, and I'm kind of happy. Like I'm kind of rolling with it now.
I feel that.
Like you just feel like a better human being when you wake up early. And that's facts.
Yeah, you don't feel like sometimes I'm such a degenerate. I gotta say I got back from the East Coast too, and that kind of helped. Every time I travel, it kind of resets my sleep schedule, you know?
Yeah.
Oh man. So I've been dude, I've been playing a good bit of chess. I've definitely
you've been grinding, eh?
I was I took my first ever. I feel so bad about it, but you know, I think it has to happen. I took my first loss in a classical event yesterday.
Say that part again. Sorry, you took your first what?
Oh, I took my first L in a classical round.
Oh, first yesterday. L in a classical game.
First L, yeah. Because I was only winning and I had one draw. And I had the guy dead to rights. I was, and I looked at the engine, and I was basically every move was winning, and there were a lot of tactics, and basically all of them were working. But then the one I went for, which was still engine approved, the guy found this defensive resource that I didn't take very seriously. And I should have spent a lot more time, and he was able to equalize, and he got some counterplay going, and it's just a lesson, I think. But
I always say one of the things that people do as low-rated players is they like to ask higher-rated players. I always use this as my joke because this is the classic female voice, like, "Oh my God, you play chess? Like, how many moves ahead can you think?" And it's like, the most generic question. I've literally been asked it 1,000 times in my life, and
yes,
I know it's like it comes from a place of not really knowing what to ask. But as you get better in chess, I think you realize that that's actually the wrong question, and it's not really how well you calculate in chess. It's truly about how well you evaluate. And so, Magnus Carlsen in a 1500 can realistically actually calculate a lot of the same variations. Like a 1500 could think 5 moves ahead properly, but his evaluation of that position 5 moves later is just going to be so astronomically wrong most of the time. Like, he might be like, "Oh yeah, that position looks good for me." Meanwhile, Magnus is like, "Oh yeah, and in that position, my bishop pair is strategically better, and I'm going to win this game guaranteed." So people are constantly thinking like, "Oh yeah, how many moves can I think ahead? How well can I calculate?" When I think it's really all about how well you can evaluate, because your evaluation being correct is so much more important. I mean, everything's important, but I think it's an underrated thing that's pretty important in chess.
What I like is that that's one of the things that's coming out of this whole the beads saga. Is that people are actually talking about that a lot more. I've heard this. First of all, okay, I don't know how many over the board events you've been going to, by the way. Everywhere I go, man, I'll show, whether it's Mechanics Institute or some park in Oakland. There's always like, I'll be playing some games, and then there's somebody on the next table who's like, "Hey, you hear about Hans?" every time, bro.
Yeah,
every time. But it's cool because I've actually heard this opinion mirrored by a couple people. Because I think this is a talking point that's getting tossed around about the GMs. Is like, "Oh yeah, all you even need is the evaluation," and the whole Anand quote about that being worth 150 elo points.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's a great point.
Like,
but
what that quote means is pretty much what I just said, right? So actually, that's really interesting. You bring it up, that it's like, if you tell the GM the eval of the position, not like, "Oh hey, by the way, 5 moves down the line, like this combination works." It's like, okay, whatever. It's like, tell me the eval, tell me if it's plus, minus, whatever, and like that'll probably tell me all I need to know about the position. I'll probably win the game.
Yeah, that's fire. That's like such a concept that I think people probably weren't ready for.
Yep.
Because you're right. Like, dude, man. But yeah, it's been sick. It's funny though, because now I'm looking at Trent's Twitter, and I'm feeling, man, I still don't have my IRL stream set up. I need like a proper camcorder and shit. But I'm trying to film some boxing content too, man.
Yeah, it's cool, right? Like,
it's so cool.
So I have, like, in my head, I think I've got Trent pretty figured out. Kind of guy he is, kind of we trains.
I didn't know until this morning. He called you. What did he call you? He called you a pedigree chum.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that like a term of endearment? Is that an insult? Like, I'm not up with all this, like, UK. It's a, "See you in December, my pedigree chum." It's like, what? Like, that could be a good thing.
It sounds like a good thing.
It sounded like some really good stuff. Like some happy-go-lucky Paddington Bear shit, So I don't know how to take it. I guess I got roasted.
Yeah, I don't know. I had the same thought. I thought pedigree was a compliment. Pedigree sounds like a like a something you ascribe to, like, "Oh, this is pedigree. This is the good stuff." It's like USDA Prime.
Right.
"Oh, this is pedigree. No, this guy's pedigree." Yeah,
we also have the chat like a little more EU focused right now because it's a little bit earlier. So I'm getting word, pedigree chum is like a dog food brand. So, up until right now, unaware, now aware. I mean, I could assume it's not a good thing, but still, it sounds so friendly. That's the thing. The UK insults, they're nice to listen to no matter what.
Yeah. That's how they get you.
But he's been posting some stuff. I'm like, I know I'm gonna be on there more, basically as of today, because I'm gonna check out this other gym and whatnot. But I like I like to have him, you know, striking first because I know that he's working hard. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
And you know, there's just a difference in the way that him and I are going to prepare, I think. And I already knew pre-fight there's going to be a difference in what him and I put on social media and how we approach it. So that's why I think it'll be an interesting lead up and an interesting fight in my case, because I think we're like very, very different in our chess styles, probably in our boxing styles, and certainly in our like handling of the pre-fight.
What? Interesting. What do you think is the difference? I think I know. I've got a good handle on your chess style. What's his chess style?
Well, Lawrence is like he's an IM and he's always had the GM goal, and he's the kind of guy that like every year that like goes by, like he'll go on Twitter and be like, okay, like I'm going for GM, like who wants action, like he get some numbers going, and then somehow nothing really ever like materializes. So he's always going for it, but he's never getting it, and he's like looking for action on it. So he's really like he's a grind master for sure, and I feel like he's taking the boxing really seriously right now. I wonder why he's never taken the chess that seriously. Maybe he has, I'm not sure, but like I feel like GM for him either is or probably was attainable at many points, but he's always sort of been up to something. I feel like he's you know, we have a show in Canada called Trailer Park Boys. And the point of the show is they're always kind of like looking to make a quick buck. They're always trying to find the next get rich quick scheme. I feel like he's always kind of looking for that. Whereas chess, like, you know, to get GM, I feel like you need to really dedicate, like set aside some time and just stop other shit for just a minute.
Including shaving.
Including shaving. Like, especially shaving. That's the guarantee right there, the Messi guarantee. You do that, I mean, GM's on the horizon.
There's this element of this whole thing that this is actually something I'm learning about myself. This is perhaps the most important lesson I've learned from this whole experience was okay, for the last couple years, and I really think there's something powerful about this. For the last couple years, I have kind of, you know, I've been slowly gaining weight because I'm in my 30s now. I'm like 33. And I've been slowly gaining weight. And I've kind of always had this goal of getting back to like my like out of college weight, which was like, I don't know, like 160, right?
Yep.
And as of August, I hit like 180. You know, I've never seen 180 on the scale before. I was like, damn, I'm a fat fuck.
Yeah, that's the realization.
That's the realization. And I'd been like trying couple times over the past, let's say, couple years to like, you know, lose the weight, but it's never really amounted to much. And then as soon as basically for this fight, because they're weight classes, as soon as Ludwig said, okay, you know, here's your money, and it, you know, that we're paying you for this thing, you know, to be a part of this. And by the way, you owe me all of that money back if the fight doesn't happen because you're still a fat fuck and you don't lose the weight. You're gonna have to give me all of that money back. So you have till December. And let me tell you, as soon as I had that kind of motivation, the weight's been coming off easy. So I think there's something really powerful about holding yourself to something, whether it's monetarily or by way of a beard.
Yep.
You know, something to actually keep you honest. Because I think people like can do good things. People can do great things. But if they got some fucking cop-out excuse in the back of their head to like, put it off till tomorrow, they're not going to do it. And that's just how people are. So that's the most, I think to me, that's the most powerful lesson I've learned about this whole thing. Just try owing your friend a whole lot of money if you fail at something, and you will succeed.
For sure. And it has to be like, I like it more when it's not prize incentivized. That's when it's the most effective, I think. So what you're describing, technically speaking, is more prize incentivized, in the sense that you get something if you do it. I know you've been given it ahead of time, let's say, or promised it, and then it's like taken away if you don't do it. Right. But still your net is zero. So a lazy person might just be like, whatever. So I like it when it's punishment incentivized, meaning that, let's say you owe X money if you don't do this. And let's say if you hit it, you also get that money, so the swing could be in either direction. Then it's like an actual bet. And like a bet has a negative side as well. And then I think that motivation is truly the most powerful. That's why you always have like, you'll be chilling with your buddies, and someone will be like, "Yo, I bet you like $10 you won't walk through the drive-through," and someone will be like, "Yeah, fuck that, man. I'm not walking through that. Whatever, $10."
Right.
And then someone's like, "I'll give you 1,000, bro." And then someone's like, "Okay, I'll do it right now." I bet you won't do this. Like, and then at some point you're like, "Man, I can just win my money so easily. I can make bets like this." Like, it just doesn't make sense. So I think the punishment incentive is the absolute highest, but what you're describing is like pretty much second.
Well, I agree with you. I actually think this was easier because it felt more like a punishment because they gave me the money up front and I had to pay it back.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually feel like it feels like a punishment, knowing that I would have to actually physically write a check for this, this sum of money and give it back.
Yeah.
I actually think that would feel enough like a punishment that even though you're right, it's a net zero if I have to pay it back. Really, that would be so painful that I could not.
Yeah,
go through
you're
it. I think
holding
that's why
it.
I've been successful. Yeah, I'm holding it.
It's in your hands. You're physically touching it. So yeah, I agree. Gotta give him a taste of luxury and then take it away.
Man. I am definitely training both. So far, I've only trained both disciplines separated. I have not tried together, but there's going to be, I think in November, I'm going to try to spend a good bit of time training them together.
I like that idea, but yeah, probably the same for me as well. And maybe even just not a serious amount of chess training. Like I obviously stay fresh and like doing it often, but not like, oh, here's this repertoire and here's me prepping it.
Right. You how's your boxing training been this past, let's say, week or two?
It's been basically the boxing right now for me has ramped up to the point where like you probably know, other people won't if you've never taken like a boxing class, but when I first started, I couldn't do like shit that was asked. So like something would be asked of me like physically and it was like, okay, like I can do 5% of that, so I'm gonna do it. But eventually it's like I could not keep my hands up anymore. I could not hold a plank any longer. I could not do any more push-ups. And I just can see and feel that number just like getting higher and higher. So like it's a nice feeling when you know someone's giving you an intense workout and you're finally able to keep up with it. Like actually do it. Like he asks for something, you're able to reciprocate it. And I just feel like cardio wise and like fitness wise, my level is getting to the level of like other people that have been training like for a lot longer in the classes longer than me. So that's kind of a nice feeling. And then in terms of the boxing, like I'm sure I'm shaky in a lot of areas technique wise, but I kind of use this gym that I'm at for like the cardio and fitness because the way I'm approaching is I think that's so key. And then now I'm gonna start some more one-on-ones and like really nail down the technique, the actual boxing stuff.
The technique. Right.
Like we still practice that in my classes, but you know what I mean? Like just more focused.
It's a group. Yeah, there's only so much they can do if it's a group, is what I've kind of realized. I'm definitely using the group classes because I do one-on-ones and I do group classes. I'm definitely using the group classes more for the conditioning and stuff. And I will say, because I got a buddy of mine who's boxed for years and years and years and years and years. And the first, because when I told him about this, the first thing he told me was like conditioning. He's like, at the end of the day, especially because like, it's pretty hard to knock a guy out with 16-ounce gloves with headgear. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's very unlikely that are any real knockouts during this thing, just because also we're just beginners. None of us are hitting like Mike Tyson, right? So on the flip side, it is extremely likely that someone gasses the fuck out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like so much more of your early fights are about just crumbling conditioning wise.
100%.
And my coach has been, he's got a couple little mantras, and one of them is he definitely says every now and then is he's like stamina yields confidence. He's like, stamina yields confidence.
Yeah, just being like, just comparing yourself to the other guy in the ring and just how you carry yourself. If you're like not worried about getting tired, you're not, I don't know, like saving your punches or whatever. Like you know that you have the stamina to stay in there.
Right. Yeah. And your footwork and everything, you're going to feel more empowered to, go for more combinations or whatever. So I've definitely been thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You said you've been playing some chess. Like, you mean You obviously said you just had an OTBL, so you've been going to
OTB,
the
yeah.
club, but have you been playing like more online as well, keeping the offline Smurf action going?
I have, yeah. I've been playing a good bit on my Smurf. Last week, well, we had the session last week playing on my, my main account. Yeah, I'm trying to actually, the cool thing was because I was in Detroit over the weekend at a Smash tournament, and the coolest shit was they had a chess.com booth there. I've never
Yeah,
seen
that's
this at a
dope.
Melee tournament before. Yeah. Because the guy who runs that tournament, Robin Harn, he's I forget what his title is, but he works at chess.com now. So he got a big, and they had like 8 chessboards. They had 2 tablets set up to do Puzzle Rush. They had like a daily Puzzle Rush leaderboard, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I was actually playing a lot of OTB Blitz at this Smash tournament that I was at. And so that's kind of been my thing is trying to stay ahead, because I think what we experienced last week when I played and you were watching me, beyond and even before getting to just the losses that I took tactically, every single game I was going way down on time. The ones I won, the ones I lost, the ones I drew, I was going down on time. Down on time looking for tactics, down on time. And so my thing is I'm trying to strike the right balance of first of all studying, because I've been starting to take some lessons with my not so secret coach, who many of us here on the Chess Brush channel are friends with, although I think he's going to be gone for a little while because he's got to go be the second of some young Serbian GM guy. Whatever, we'll figure that out. But yeah, so I actually did 2 of those lessons while I was at this match tournament. So very busy. But yeah, my main thing has been trying not to play actually, because I can get very sucked into. I'm a gamer. I'm a gamer's gamer, right? So I can get very sucked into. If I sit down and I start just hitting that rematch button, or not rematch, but just like a new 5 minutes or whatever.
New game.
I will sit there on chess.com and I will just play 4 hours and sometimes not get that much out of it. So I'm trying to strike the right balance between playing Blitz online, but also like studying, and also not playing so much online that it fucks up my perception of time management OTB. Because I think for me, that's going to be the biggest difference is, and who the hell, I was talking to someone in Tulum about this, Dustin or somebody, but they were basically saying like, oh yeah, if you've never been in an IRL time scramble or OTB time scramble, and you're only used to, you're like, oh, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, sure, sure, yeah, no problem, I'll just pre-move everything.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work that way. So
and
I
even
think for me,
that's something to get used to, because there's not many chess tournaments that anybody has played in where there is a time scramble happening and there is no increment. FIDE Blitz time control is not like that. Classical, there's an increment in like every serious match played. So that's even like you're describing it for you. Yes, you're right. You got to get used to it. But I have to get used to it. I've really never been in many time scrambles when it's like there's something at stake where there's no increment, and it truly is just kind of like a wild time scramble.
So I wanted to ask you about that, because these are real matches, and okay, at the park or whatever, people are usually, first of all, I know there's 2 rule sets. This is what I've heard. I know there's touch move and there's clock. Obviously, touch move is the one that I'm used to from tournaments and stuff. I wonder what we're going to be doing at the event, because I've heard, let's say you're in a time scramble, a blitz game, and I was hoping you had some insight on this. I've heard that with clock move, the move technically isn't over until you've hit the clock, which means the other guy isn't supposed to like pick their piece up before you hit the clock. And I wonder at this event what the judges, or I should say what the arbiter is going to do when it comes to somebody jumping the gun in the time scramble, or something like that. Like, I wonder, because I mean, we even saw the video, the UK video or whatever, the UK chess boxing.
Yeah.
And the guy makes it illegal. He moves into check or whatever. And then the arbiter's just like, like puts it back. And it was like,
he's like, I don't know, you guys figured out.
This is like, what? So I'm kind of wondering what the vibe is going to be when it comes to, because especially for the lower elo matches, there's going to be some shenanigans.
For sure. For sure.
So do you have any thoughts on that, or like what?
Well, I don't expect them to be playing by clock move. They'd have to really announce that, because it's
yeah.
I mean, definitely it's like a weird feeling, especially if you think of like me and Trent playing a game, like 2 very experienced players. Like if he grabs a piece to move it, and then it's like, oh shit, and then like puts it back, like both of us are gonna feel odd, but like both of us are gonna be like, nah, that ain't right. That just don't feel right.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that that's gonna be a rule. It's got to be like touch move. You can definitely move the piece and then like put it back while you're still holding it, and then move that piece somewhere else. That's normal touch move.
Yeah.
So you don't have to full commit, but you shouldn't be grabbing your piece before your opponent hits their clock, whether it's touch move or clock move. Touch move,
you shouldn't be grabbing your piece.
Yeah, touch move just means like when you touch it, you have to move it. Not that when you touch it, your move's like complete or something. Your move is never complete until you hit the clock. So technically that should never happen. But obviously in a time scramble, it's hard to like, you know, the minuscule seconds. Like, yeah, someone might grab their piece technically before your hand is over there. It's more of like a rhythm of a time scramble. And as long as it doesn't look too egregious, I think it's always kind of okay.
Right. Yeah, this is interesting for me to hear because I was at a like a meetup or whatever. Actually it was a blitz tournament, not rated, but it was a blitz tournament. And there was a guy who was like 2000-ish, and he was telling me that per clock move in blitz, he was saying the move is over when you hit the clock. So you shouldn't move your piece if you're the other guy. You shouldn't start moving your piece until they hit the clock. But he was saying if it's touch move, he was saying technically the move is over when they let go of the piece. So you could already start grabbing and moving your piece as they go to hit their clock, which is maybe that's just wrong. I mean, I'm sure that it's, I don't know.
Meaning that like once they've made their move and they let go of it?
Yeah, like say you make your move and now you've let go and your hand is going over to hit the clock. He was saying once they've let go of the piece, the move is complete and you can already start making your move.
I think in other words, essentially that's how most time scrambles get played. Like just across the board. Like that's just how people do it naturally because it's so hard to, you see the move, it's done, it's locked in. And in your head, you're like, oh, okay, the move is done. They literally cannot change it. The only thing that needs to happen is my opponent needs to go and hit their clock. And really, your opponent is incentivized to hit the clock as fast as possible. So in your head, you're like, okay, if they have to go hit it as fast as possible, let me just get my move going. Whereas technically, they could like mess with you, as I have done, by the way, in a classical game. I recently played a classical tournament. I made a move, and my opponent was like really quickly replying to me, like really quickly. For a classical game, and I was like, okay, like, whoa, relax there, buddy. And so what I did was I made a move, and then I let go, and then I didn't hit my clock, and I just looked at him. Because now his move was already queued up, so he's already grabbed his piece to reply, but I haven't hit my clock. So I'm looking at him, I'm like, dude, it's still my fucking turn. You're literally holding your piece trying to move. It's still my turn, like legally. I could take this time on my clock to now maybe adjust the rest of my pieces, right? Because it's just my time. I can do whatever I want with it. I can adjust my pieces, whatever, and then I can hit the clock. Then it's your turn. But now it's an awkward scenario because the guy's trigger happy, and I'm basically proving to him that you shouldn't be doing this by not hitting my clock because now he's holding his damn queen and he's like in the air, and I'm like, well, dude, you can't move. It's not your turn.
You just stared at him. That's so funny. At him. Wow. He's trying to like. He's trying to.
Just being so antsy. It's like, dude, it's like a 1.5 hour game. Let's calm down here.
Wow. Yeah. Classical. That's crazy. That's crazy. God damn.
So I would always play under that assumption that like.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. I wonder what the. That's one of the things I'm going to be curious about is like what the arbiting. I guess that's probably the word. I'm wondering what that's going to look like at this thing. Like I wonder how. Strict or not strict? I'm guessing it's going to be not that strict, but
I think it's going to be lax, number one, especially in your match, because like if there's going to be strict rules applied, it's going to be to myself and Trent. But if there are, myself and Trent are probably going to be the ones enforcing them because we just know what they like. We sort of know how things are supposed to flow, and if things aren't flowing right, we'll notice something. Sorry, if things are not flowing right, one of us will notice before anyone else in the room, probably. And like even ahead of like a strong player who's watching, just when you're in the game, you can just feel when someone's like jumping the gun a little bit or like knocking pieces over too much. So
Right.
I think the scrutiny would be on us, like yourself and so many other matches. You guys aren't chess players. You're not expected to know everything. I think that's part of the fun of the event. It's gonna be a little wild, a little loose, and I think like you
Casting
should.
with both hands.
I think you should generally move after someone lets go of their piece, or like get your motion going, because I don't think people are gonna be walking over and being like ah.
Right. Right. Yeah, especially I'm definitely gonna see what the vibes are on the earlier matches too, because I think those will inform
Exactly.
But it is really funny though. Like for example, I played it was this same Blitz tournament. I played this one guy, and it was he almost like had me like questioning my whole belief system, because I played this one dude, and first of all he was dead lost, but apparently I was making all my moves with my right hand, and then for one move towards the end of the game I was already like up a full piece, and I was like leaning on my right hand.
Yeah.
And I made a move with my left hand, and then I hit the clock with my left hand. So I made the move, and I hit the clock with the same hand. And then he goes, "You have to use your right hand. You can only use one hand. You have to use the same hand." And I was like, "But wait, like, no, that's only within the context of one move. Like, you have to move and hit the clock with the same hand, but I don't have to use the same hand that I used last move." And he's like, "You used your right hand. You have to use, or you used your left hand. You have to use your right hand." I was like, "Okay,
you don't have
buddy,
to
like,
lock
okay."
in a hand at the beginning of the game.
He thought you did. I was like, "Okay, look, I'll just do it just for the rest of the game because I don't really care." But this was the assumption that he was operating under.
But
and for a
hilarious.
second, like he had such conviction that I was like, maybe this guy's right. Like, maybe that was the rule. Like, I don't know. It was insane. It was insane. I've never experienced anything like that. He was ready to call the TD over. I was like, Jesus, dude. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've definitely been under the magnifying glass at some of these events. But okay, I guess hopefully no one calls
at
me
the
on
beginning. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go left-handed for this match. I'm gonna lock in the left. You know, it's like picking a character in Smash or something. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna lock it in.
Right. And then your whole stance, you're like, this is okay. I'm ready. It was insane. I have no idea. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's gonna be super chill. Well, chill in some ways and very not chill in others.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I think, especially for you with the chess, you can assume it's like chill. I think the point of the event is like there are like base rules that you need to follow, or else the whole thing is just wild. And other than that, I don't think anyone knows like enough about the chess. Like, even if you did something horribly wrong, like took a piece and like took the piece, put your knight on the same square as a queen, hit the clock, and then went to grab the queen off the board or something, like something just wild. I don't think they're gonna come in and be like minus 10 points, like half the time gone. Like, I don't think it's gonna be like that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably true. But
which is why I say for you, man, you gotta take advantage. Like, don't be the guy that's playing too perfect because you're like don't research the rules to follow them.
Yeah, exactly. Just be the guy. Even my boxing coach, I should not be leaking my strats on stream, but even my boxing coach was saying, when it comes down to it, when he'll be fighting somebody, when he comes around somebody on the outside, he'll kind of knee him a little in a fight, in a real fight. He'll like kind of knee him a little bit, which you're not really supposed to do, but like, it's the kind of thing that you're going to get maybe a warning for.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah. So I think that in particular, boxing veterans have thought about this thing a good bit.
Oh, definitely.
As one does with physical fights.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, what am I just going to get a small warning for? Because there's a lot of things like that. Like, if you can get a small warning for something, even everybody in the chat right now has probably had this with their mom and their dad when they're just younger and just trying to do shit. It's like, okay, like if I go out with my friends and I don't tell them, and then I come back after and they're like, yo, where were you? And it's like, oh, like just went with some friends. And then they're like, what the hell? Like, you can't do that. Like, go to your room and study. And it's like, okay, I was going to come home and do that anyway. Whereas if you say, hey, mom, can I go with my friends? they're like, nah, you gotta come home and study. And then if you go still with your friends, then you're in big trouble. So it's like, don't research the rules to know exactly what they are. Sometimes you just kind of do things and it's like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, didn't know.
Didn't know. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. Ask, sometimes forgiveness is better than permission or whatever.
That's right.
However that works.
Uh-huh.
We're going to play some chess today? How do we do this?
Yeah, so...
What do you have in mind?
I like that you have been playing a little bit.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say about openings before we get into stuff was like, you were saying, oh, you can play a whole bunch of chess and then feel like potentially you got nothing out of it after playing for like many, many hours. And obviously, and I never do this because I'm streaming, but if I'm being real serious about studying or improving or whatnot, then like basically I'll play either one game or one opponent, meaning like it sucks to break the stride and like not rematch someone, like that's kind of shitty. So it's like play one opponent the full match, and then before you start another match or before you start a new opponent, and maybe you only play one game against someone, then I wouldn't jump into another game. If they leave or something, it's like then I would take that one game and I would examine the opening, because chances are you're going to be, let's say you're the white pieces, like, and you play e4 and you play knight f3 and you play bishop b5, it's a Ruy Lopez. Like, if you play as much as I know you can play, you're going to see the same damn opening tons of times. And you're going to see, maybe at your level, you'll see a wider variety of moves. At my level, I might see a more narrow variety because it's like people know the best moves, the main lines. But if you see like some random ass move and you end up losing the game, you like check it quickly, chess.com, whatever, tells you, the double question mark, buddy was like lost after this. You add that to your repertoire, your file. Like, you have a master sheet, a master file for like the Ruy Lopez.
Right.
You play a game, it's the Ruy Lopez, boom, it goes into the master file. And then eventually, like, you can see if you do that over like a long period of time, it'll become this huge database of like maybe a whole bunch of shitty moves, but you'll know exactly how to punish them. It's not like one move will just be punished by a tactic every time. Sometimes it might be consistent, like, oh, every time my opponent develops their bishop to b7 in the Ruy Lopez for whatever reason, oh, the computer wants me to go c3, d4 and take the center. It's like, okay, cool. Like, that's kind of my answer whenever I see shit like that. And the more you add these, to your brain as patterns, then eventually it becomes more second nature. You're going to run out of moves that you can see. There's going to be stuff, like, there's not going to be new stuff every single game you play. You're eventually going to be playing stuff that you've put in your master database before. And then you're just remembering, oh, like, I played that other game against that guy. And as long as you just, like, check this master base, like, every so often, maybe every night, scroll through it, maybe every week, like, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I played that one guy. It's trash. He played this trash move, this one, whatever. And it's like, oh, yeah, I didn't handle it well in the game. Now I know. Boom. Bishop here, knight there. That's how I do it. And just, like, eventually, you're just going to become way better at handling a certain opening. Because everything that's gone wrong, you're looking at with an engine, like, fixing it to the point where you actually understand it. It's like, oh, this is how I handle that. Right. And then it goes back in the database, and then that database just gets bigger and bigger over time. I mean, it can't not make you better.
And you're using the word file, and I assume you literally mean, because I mean, this could literally be, because I have like some studies and stuff, and I'm even starting to potentially, I might get on ChessBase even. But you would literally, I'm assuming for you, like when you were getting good, literally this was, like some set of like a PGN or
PGN,
I don't know what to call it, like a study,
PGN, yeah.
And you would actually
studies, chess.com, like you just save like individual games files. It even saves to like notepad text format, whatever.
Right. I do this with certain openings, but I could probably be more thorough.
Yeah, like you might have like one game that you happen to analyze in depth, maybe with your coach, and like you'll definitely save that. So it's like, oh, this is really good analysis. But if you have like a huge place where all your Ruy Lopez, you don't even have to put the whole game in there, but you can just like click through the database. Like you just played a game, maybe it's like 50 moves long, You click through the database while following your game, and then as soon as a move from your game is not in your database, you enter it. And then you're like, oh, so the opponent played this move, and then you kind of play what you were playing, see how it matches up with the engine. Eventually, like, maybe you just learn a new line. Maybe you just go over that game and you start to internalize how you played, and maybe it was great and you keep playing it that way. Maybe there was a mistake by you that you can fix. Maybe your opponent made a mistake and you didn't punish it, and then you can just sort of perfect that line or get it to a stage which is much higher than what you just played, and then just leave it. And then, like, the next time you play a game, you go back and you click through your database while following your game. Eventually, it's going to be different, and then you enter that move. And, like, eventually you just create this folder, so to speak, of, like, a very comprehensive list of what people play against you. Not just top engine moves, but it's what people play against you. So these moves could suck, but hey, this is what you're facing.
Right. Yeah, that's actually, I need to do that for. Yeah, I should do that for. I can think of especially 2 or 3 openings right now that I want to.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it for every opening, right? Because it's like crazy. It's like, okay, this is E4. My opponent plays G6. Okay, let me put in that file. It's like, it gets crazy, but you can start by picking the most popular opening that you face all the time, or pick one that you suck at. Because I definitely know myself. As soon as I start playing an opening, I'm like, oh my, like, not this one. Like, I suck against this. So I always lose to this line or whatever. Like, everybody knows that line. So you can start with, like, that one or most popular one or whatever.
Yeah, that's a really smart idea. I'm definitely going to do that. Definitely going to do that, at least for the King's Indian, because I started playing the King's Indian semi recently. And that's definitely been one of those openings where, well, I mean, it's the King's Indian, right? Like, sometimes if sometimes some shit gets short.
Exactly.
So I could definitely use that. And I feel comfortable saying that out loud because I know Sardosh isn't a D4 player, so yeah.
Well, but okay. He might come at you D4. Now he's gonna target the King's Indian.
Yeah, that's true. He might.
Full switch up.
In which case, I think I'll be fine. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What happens?
That's the thing. It's tough to switch your whole repertoire in chess. Like, that's pretty crazy.
I got one more question on this note before we move on, which is, like, the way you do it. So I know that, like, for example, you'll have your, I've seen, like, I've seen the sorts of files that, like, title players use for, like, as their sorts of repertoires, right? And I know they get pretty big, and they'll have actual games in there, like, there'll sometimes be model games, like actual games all the way through. But as I'm building something like this up, like you said, you might see some shit moves, or at least offbeat moves that would you keep a separate file for what you're describing versus your main repertoire, or would those be the same thing at the end of the day?
Does it depends. Sense? Like, as you get better and as you become more religious about doing this, then I would separate them. And so mine are separated. I have, like, files that are like Nimzo Indian, main moves, like knight c3, e3, queen c2, a3, and then I'll have, like, Nimzo Indian move 5, alternatives. And that'll
I've just run into.
That'll include random stuff I've seen in my games, because a lot of times, like, people play a move against you that's, like, not good objectively, but you don't know that when you're playing it, and when it comes at you in the game, you're like, shit, I've never seen that before. That's kind of good. You put it in the engine, it's like, oh, +2. So there might be a few things like that, like just knowing how to handle certain things. Like, you might test one line with the engine, and the engine's like, yeah, you're, like, much better here. Here's how to play it. And then you just remember that setup that the engine wants to go for, and just, okay, it's good enough for me. And if you play against it again, you go for that setup. If you never get it again, you've got that setup ready to go. If you do play against it again, you use the setup, and if it still goes wrong, then you go back again and do the same thing. It probably shouldn't. At that point, you're probably, like, gonna have a good experience the next time you try it. So I separate them, but I think when you're starting out, it should all be in one, because you're not, like, straight up, you're not disciplined enough to start separating them. You're trying to do too much too early.
You don't even know what the fucking top moves are.
No, exactly.
let alone just...
If you start separating them by how good they are, you might have your main folder be empty and your shitty move folder be full, because, hey, you might just be facing shitty moves. Like, who knows? It's not like your opponents are going to play it perfectly, and obviously the lower in rating you go, the more variance you're going to have with replies.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And the only reason I ask is because it's not that I would have started those, whatever you want to call it, like the proper repertoire file or whatever. I didn't start them on mine, but like for example, my coach sent me some stuff. And I feel like what my coach sent me is like more pristine in that sense. It's like the proper like lines and stuff.
Yeah,
And I was wondering if I should add to that file that I was sent, or if I should just start a new one.
I would add.
And yeah, just add. Makes sense.
I would add. Yeah, especially because it's a good foundation to start with. So if you play a game, you might find that a lot of those moves are already in there.
Got it. Nah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I would add to it.
Okay.
Yep.
I like that. I like that.
Yes, Lethbridge Chess. Toph is looking very lean, and a lot more lean than when we saw him last, for sure.
Yeah.
So that is probably looks very different to Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. For well, sometimes it's hard to tell in like a stream camera shot because it's like.
But that's why if you can tell, I mean, that's just a credit to you, man.
Thank you.
You know, if it's showing on the cam as well. It's like the guy that, like, you know, it's classic that guys don't look like photogenic on dating apps and they turn out better in person, whereas women turn out worse because they're better at taking photos. So it's like, you know, if you're looking good on the cam, Toph, just imagine in person. God damn.
That's right. Oh man, gassed me up already. Yeah, I appreciate that, Jeff. That's true though. That's true. That's true. And that is actually a good point. I've never really super duper thought about that. Or sometimes they'll use some older photos where they're yeah.
But the lads, you know, we're simple creatures, you know. I need a photo. Boom, there's a photo.
Boom, there's a photo. There's a photo. That's hella true. That's hella true.
Okay, so this time I wanted to start playing some games, you and I, and I'm actually not gonna tell you, like, I'm not gonna do anything like super weird. But I am gonna approach the games from my perspective in a specific way, and we can talk about them after. So we can start with just a couple games. I still think it's probably nice to stick with the same time control, just for the moment, like 5 minutes that you're gonna end up playing. But I want to see you get used to a style, and it's gonna be easier for me to use this style against you because I'm a stronger player. But I find it particularly like offensive when people do it to me who are the same strength as me, because I just get so pissed off. And that style is generally the quick move of an average variety. And I hate it. It's like there's no good moves really. Maybe even a couple moves that you're like, it's just like really not so good. But then it's like, how do you react to that? Because I know how most people react to it, and you know, it's not a secret that a lot of people will either spend a lot of time when they see the suspicious moves and tank trying to like crush the game, maybe not find the solution and then flag or lose because of time, or they will tank, find the solution but not convert it properly, like you need to play all 8 moves for the next little while correctly, or they'll tank, find it, play all 8 moves correctly, but then it's like, great, you did everything properly, you're still going to be down on time and you're still gonna have to convert a tough position. So I'm gonna play in a way where I'm not like looking to like not. I mean, if you're blundering, I'm gonna have to take stuff. But I'm gonna play in a way which is like designed to put you under pressure, time wise. I mean, and it's more like a race against the clock type of situation for you. It's like how comfortable are you playing quick moves and keeping up with an opponent who's clearly not like calculating like the best stuff. He's at your level. He's not like genius. He's not going to be able to find like 10 move combos, but he's just flicking pieces out nice and easy. Might even be a little subpar. How do you handle that?
Because this is I think something that clearly last week demonstrated I need to work on. And this is something I think you even before that you thought would be very important in this sort of style of event.
That's why I say it, is that I actually think that the person who's better at this style of chess is like has an advantage in chess boxing. I think it's such a great style for chess boxing.
Playing, let's say, moves where, if I understand you, it's basically being able to play moves and playing a style where you're just not blundering, but you're not spending a ton of time, and you're not getting a huge advantage, but you're also not really giving anything up.
Yeah, and you might not even get any advantage. So I'm talking about average or
Right.
slightly below average moves played at a quick
Yeah.
pace. And it might
Okay.
even be that I do a below average move for 10 moves in a row, and that's like a big advantage for you. But like being able to
Mhm.
realize that, execute it, whatever, as soon as you make one mistake, suddenly you hand everything that you just got in my last 10 moves back, and I'm up time.
Okay.
So let's play a couple games like that, and just know that
Yeah.
like that's my general style. And you know the thing is, I even telling you
Hmm.
doesn't really help, because when you're playing someone like this, when you make a move and they just immediately reply, and then if they
Oh,
immediately reply, you're probably just
I
like,
hate
you
that
can
shit.
tell, you know they're doing it even when you're playing against them, right? So it doesn't even help knowing.
Before we start, I have one more question for you about this.
So
Because what you just described at my level is tilting. You're like, man, this
yeah,
motherfucker's not respecting the fact I should be crushing this guy, but they're just
exactly.
fucking blitzing shit out. So my question is, at your level, does this still happen?
Still happens, still works. And in fact, I think it's somehow an even more convincing style, because guess what? A 2700, like chess.com,
Yeah.
2700 chess.com blitz player has a much higher like average than an 1800. So even though I
Mm,
can also have a higher average, like the thing is they can waver so much close to an average move with using like 5 seconds of their brain than an 1800 can.
mm.
So it's actually
So
a
it's just
pretty scary style, I find. And I think it works well against me, to be quite honest with you. Like just in general. It works well when I do it to other people as well. So it's this like, I think it's like an effective way, and it's not something you can ever make your full-time strat. But you pull it out once in a while, you
yeah.
just play that really quick game where you're like, fuck it. I'm not spending more than 10 seconds on any move this game. It's like, whoa,
Okay.
it might just work.
Right. All right. Yeah, let's do it. I'm down. What do? I go to play?
So yeah, if you're in play, then I can fire you a challenge here.
Okay. I am in play on my main account, toph_BBQ.
Yeah, gotcha.
All right. Are we should we mute for the game?
That's now it's a little more up to
Theory?
you. In the past, like I wanted to have you muted for the games that we were watching,
So you could
definitely.
commentate,
But
yeah.
this one, it's like if you think it'll help you like focus more, you want to get the game in, and then we talk about it after it. I'd leave it more up to you. What do you think?
You raise a good point. Yeah, because I mean, in all, like the comparison would be if we're just playing like we played the Blitz games in the park,
Right.
and obviously we can hear each other. Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to mute. Yeah,
And
fuck
like
it.
chess, I don't know how the
Let's
chess
go.
boxing is, because I know you're gonna have those like headphones on that you soundproof.
Yeah.
But like
yeah.
at the same time, you can still look at your opponent and just like, yeah, like.
yeah,
I don't know how that's gonna be,
true.
but if I see like a peace hang by Lawrence, I might like, yeah, hey, you really think
Mhm.
you fucking shit, buddy? So I don't know how that's gonna go down.
That's a good point. I wonder how sound tight those things are.
They're supposed to be pretty good. I've never had them on, but like, yeah, for esports and like chess boxing, yeah, I mean they're supposed to be
Got it.
flawless.
Got it.
All right. So yeah, I'm gonna try to do 5 minutes here.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. Here we go. Yeah, I had a new the other day. I had a new personal best for caliber of player I beat on chess.com.
Yeah.
I
What's
beat
that?
the guy was rated on chess.com Blitz. I beat a 2019. I took 13 points from this guy. I was pretty happy about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Not Lee chess either. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
All right, let's just play what I play. I've decided to start blocking this with the knight.
Yeah, I feel like I like that a little bit more.
Do you? Okay.
Just in general, like keeps a little bit more pieces on the board, and I don't think you need to be worrying about what's the actual best theory at all times.
Right.
It's not like there's gonna be
this stuff.
a must move.
Right. I gotta say, I hate that you made what I thought was an extremely good video about why the whole bishop c4, and the Sicilian early isn't very good.
Yeah.
But then whenever I actually run into it, I'm just like, it's not actually that easy to punish.
The thing is,
For like-
Toph, you have to understand, it's just propaganda. I can release a video telling
Yeah.
you that that's the best opening in the world and the worst opening,
Right.
and both will
Yep.
be true.
Right. Like it has to be pretty dog shit to actually. All right. Not trying to spend too much.
It's really about what you do with it.
Right.
So, okay, I think this is actually like it happened to work out that we've got a great position for what I was just talking about, because
yeah,
it's a good opening by you. You've got a good position. There's nothing wrong with it. But at the same time, what plans you have are, I don't think there's anything obvious like, oh, we definitely go for this pawn break, or we definitely trade these pieces. So you're gonna have to sit there and think about it.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Let's see.
And yes, chat, you are 100% correct that I will literally make a video and then make another video contradicting that video.
That's the classic.
Yeah, just like, this is the big pharma strat. Like, I am going to diagnose what's wrong with you, and then that diagnosis, you're gonna have to take a drug for it, and then that drug will need another drug to fix that problem, and that's the farming chess content.
I'm okay. I was scared about. I don't know if D5 came with any tactics. I was
right, but remember,
yeah,
I would play D5 absolutely 100%. I would play D5, but I'm not trying to play in a D5 style right now. To be quite honest with you, so I think D5 you did leave yourself a little bit loose there.
Yeah. Were you winning more than a pawn?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Yeah, ultimately, I just. All right, we're going back. This is hard. Okay, let's get in there a little bit. Just a little bit, motherfucker. All right, we're out.
Hey, you little bitch.
Yeah, this is stressful. I see what you're saying.
And I haven't really done anything. I've still not broken with the pawns. I haven't I'm just kind of going.
Yeah. To be honest with you, yeah. I mean, all right. I think I need to. Okay. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'm trying to do exactly what you said, which is like not go too far down on time.
And
but you're right that the plans are not that obvious to me right now.
Yeah, you don't want to go down on time, but then you start to basically this is supposed to be basically a litmus test for how quickly can you understand the position and the plans that you should be going for. Because in chess, if you know what plan you're supposed to do, even if you're playing a stronger player like me, at least you can still execute that shit. You can still get it off the mark.
Right. This might be incredibly bad, but yeah, my king side's looking pretty shit. Okay, I'm gonna fuck, man. 98 looks just terrible. Okay, fuck it. I'm gonna go like this, but more for lack of figuring out how to restructure my pieces correctly. I think is just I'm gonna take too much time.
And I am trying not to go for too much. By the way, it's not like it's all just been sitting there. There's a few moves that I thought were a little bit better that I've turned down, but realistically, I think most of the damage has come from yourself. A lot of shuffling.
Yeah.
And then you decide to give up the pawn there, which by the way was honestly probably the right decision. I think I like that from you, but still doesn't really change the resulting position.
Yeah, that's true.
And you have to keep in mind, nobody at your level or below is going to be able to do this as effectively as it's being done to you right now. So it is a little bit unrealistic, but I still think it's good practice.
It's good. I mean, it's definitely good practice. Yeah. It's definitely good practice. Oof. man. And get that move out of there. Okay.
Now I'm going to use my 3 minutes to think here. And I have 3 minutes to find a great
I'm going to
tactic.
use your 3 minutes to think. Ah, fuck. Yeah.
So it's like sometimes what happens is your opponent just kind of plays like just an average Andy the whole game. And then when you're down to like 15 seconds and they have literally 4 or 5 minutes, it's like, oh yeah, they're actually like a player around my skill level and they can find like one tactic.
Yeah, as it turns out. And I've definitely been that guy too. Like I've done that. All right, well, I'll let the. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, damn.
So like if you kind of look through the moves, like even just on your own and just flick through them, it's like, and realistically, I didn't make that many mistakes, that's for sure. But I also didn't do like kind of too much. And then when you committed to the D5 move, which was like a definitely bad move, D5.
Yeah.
But you kind of
both
knew it,
D5 and E5 are shit, right?
Both D5 and E5 was the other one.
Yeah, like both of those pawn breaks for me are shit, right?
Yeah,
for me.
Yeah, they are. E5 is probably a little bit better, but just a little bit.
Right.
I prefer E5 slightly.
Got you.
Because I don't like opening up the bishop on B1.
Right.
You know, letting me play E5.
Right. Yeah.
But you know, it's like your rooks kind of jumped around. You didn't have any C file, nothing going on, and then basically you imploded with D5. I took and I played E5. Then I still like your move, by the way. Knight E4 I think is the best move, but let's just say you imploded by giving away a pawn with Knight E4. And then all I did was like take it, trade every piece on the board, double rooks, and like it's like nothing too crazy. And then of course at the end, like I played one tactic.
Well, exactly. There's this concept that I hear like in Smash or in fighting games, very frequently, which is like, and you know at like the higher levels of play, which is like I think it was like a Japanese fighting gamer said this, and it was always kind of stuck with me. But it was like in these sorts of games, 99% of the time, the player who's more okay with nothing happening is gonna win. So like for me, like you know you're just sitting on a good position and you're not really making things happen, but you're not spending time. Right. And for me, I'm like, fuck, I'm down on time. I'm playing them on. I gotta make something happen. Yeah. Fuck it, D5. I'm already down 30 seconds. I'm gonna go down more on time. But if I just was truly okay with like the tension, then probably I play that a lot more reasonably. But or I mean, yeah, you know, chess players talk about keeping the tension, right? And I feel like that's something I've always been pretty shit at.
So like let's just say you know, move 13. Is it fair to say like first of all, I do like my opening. I think I'm slightly better. But I'm not blowing anyone out of the water here with this. I like my position, but I don't think you can be too unhappy as black. Like if you look at the position on move 13, I just played knight G3. Like when you play this opening at the start, are you hoping for much better than this? Like this is kind of I don't know. You got to be pretty satisfied with this. I feel like.
Agreed.
So if you're satisfied with this, then it's like in this position, I'm just gonna flip my board because I want to look at it from your perspective. But like in this position, you know, you did your queen b6. I think you realized that it kind of backfired after rook c7, bishop e3. You were like, oh, okay, like I gotta move my queen, and obviously if I had played d5 there, I would have gotten a bigger advantage. But let's say back on move 13, maybe queen b6 is right, maybe it's not, but look at that position and now think to yourself how helpless or hopeless you found it in the game to actually do something. What if literally your opponent
Mm-hmm.
moves king h1, king g1. I'm talking about what are you doing? What breaks do you like? What pawns are you pushing? What pieces are you trying to trade? Because if you don't know the answer to that question, what to do if someone goes king h1, king g1, then you're not equipped to play the position if someone is not doing that.
That makes a lot of sense. I guess probably a better plan is like try to roll the A and B pawns, get my heavy pieces over there, and like just kind of enjoy that I have a little more space on the queen side. Instead of whatever the fuck I did.
Right?
Maybe.
So are you on like you're on chess.com, right? Can you
yep.
Or maybe you have it, let's just flick on the engine.
Yeah. No, so, I got
so what I like to do,
I got whatever's below diamond. I got
good.
Yeah.
What I like to do, and I still do this from time to time when I'm just thinking about position conceptually. I'm good enough that I don't need to do this right now, but let's just say if you look at any of those engine lines, just ignore the white move and just look at the lines.
Yeah.
And just look at all the moves that the engine is saying black can do. I'm seeing a lot of bishop c6. I'm seeing a lot of a5. Lines. I'm seeing bishop c6 in almost every single line. Like every single best line. I am seeing a5. I'm seeing queen b6, rook c7. So let's just say that those are some ideas.
Yeah.
You did queen b6, rook c7. Why did what you did suck so much? Well, I played bishop e3, and your queen didn't have anywhere to go, so d5 was a killer move.
Right.
And if your bishop was on c6, I'm sure that the engine would have you play queen b6 to b7, putting more pressure on the e-pawn, sliding your queen out of danger, and letting your queen support you playing a5, b4, gaining more space over there on the queen side while you play rook c7, rook c8 to double the rooks.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm no genius, but I'm literally looking at that engine suggestion and just saying, okay, the engine is clearly wants me to do these fucking moves. Like, you know, this is clearly a plan, or at least it's something to look for. And I think one of the main ideas that a strong player will notice without doing that, but that you can infer from doing that, is bishop c6 and a queen on b7 is a really nice arrangement. There's no move d5 that ever happens. Like, you've always got that covered. And from white, I mean. And then from white, if they play e5, your queen and bishop are situated literally perfectly.
Yeah. Then they're really powerful. And then my knight goes...
This is after e5 you're talking about, or...
Yeah. I guess it would be d takes, and then knight d5 or something.
Your knight has the d5 square. Another thing is like your knight from d7 then maybe can use the b6 square potentially, which would be vacant. And another thing is like, you know, let's just take the position, fast forward. Let's take the position when your queen was on b8 and move 18. I just played queen e2.
Queen e2, yeah.
So this is another position. Like you've obviously meandered a little bit to get to b8. Wasted a few moves, but wasting moves, you look at the engine eval, it's the exact same, right? Because remember, as white, I mean, I haven't done anything too spectacular. I'm not pushing the envelope here. So this is a position where you can spend a few extra random moves. Have a look at the engine and ignore white's moves. And again, what do you see? What commonalities do you see in a lot of these top lines? And what do you like for black based on that?
Yeah. So now I'm actually seeing that there is a break in the center I can play. So I see e5, which is, okay. I mean, yeah, I'd have to think about it a little bit, but okay, there's e5 for sure. I see a lot of bishop d. Oh no, that's white. Sorry. Still some bishop c6. Definitely still some bishop c6.
And not every line's going to be identical. I think in a position where it's fairly like, I don't know, like, I think in a position where there's still a lot to happen, you're going to see more commonalities in the lines in general, because it's like, okay, nothing's really going on. There's probably going to be a few things that are good, no matter what. But in like very tactical positions, you're not going to find similarities in lines because like, sorry, dude, you have to fucking play this move.
It's all concrete, yeah.
So
the funny thing is I see a little bit of like literal shuffling too. So like in that
Mhm.
first line, I'm seeing like move 21, b3, bishop d8, move 22, queen e2, bishop e7. I don't really know what to make of that. Like
Right.
it's like telling me like just chill. Like
I'm seeing a lot of knight f8, knight g6. I'm
uh-huh.
seeing that in at least the first two lines.
It's like the Italian / Rui Lopez
Right,
kind
and
of thing.
that's
Well, it's
kind of
like
what
kind of
white
like
has
what you
done.
did.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's an option. I am seeing, bishop f8. You mentioned the move e5, definitely idea, but the move e5, you can clearly see that the reaction is knight f5, and then
Right.
d5, and then the next move is knight h5. Like as soon as I see shit like that, I'm already a little skeptical. It's like that's a weird ass line. Plus, if I'm playing the move e5, hey, maybe I want my bishop on f8 preemptively.
Yeah. Yeah.
The knight f8 is
So
nice.
you would make just like it's like make some fucking improving moves first before you do some shit like this.
H6 comes
Yeah.
to mind. Knight f8 comes to mind, so that if e5
Yeah.
happens, knight on f8 covers h7. You're not getting mated ever. Then you can use the d5 square, and then bishop c6 is coming to mind because we already talked about it
Yeah.
from earlier, right? You have those plans from earlier. You can still apply here. Bishop c6, a5, b5, or sorry, a5, b4,
Yeah.
a4, whatever. Like you can expand on that side of the board.
Yeah. Yeah.
And d5 for
And the queen
you
takes
is
by the
usually
d7.
met by e5 very strongly. Is something that you can
Mhm.
infer from this game. Every time we've
Mhm.
looked at the engine, when the fuck have you seen the engine say play d5?
Right.
Like never,
Right.
because it
Never.
knows that when e5 happens, that you're in a tough spot.
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
start to understand, okay, engine doesn't like d5, does like e5. Not that you need to play e5, but that if you're gonna play a pawn move, it's probably e, not d.
Mhm.
And we like this plan of bishop c6, queenside pawns. Doubling the rooks on the c file is fine, but don't expect to use them. The engine kind of likes them just sitting there because, like, what can you do down that c
Yeah.
file? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Your bishops are too strong defensively. They're just
Right.
gonna chase them away.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And then
Okay.
you fast forward, even like just down the line, let's say after I played bishop b4 on move 23.
Or on move 23. Yeah.
Because this is
Yep.
where
Okay.
you played queen a8, I played queen d2, whatever you did rook, and then you did d5. Like that's all clearly down the wrong path. So again, have a look at the engine here, and what does it say? This is after bishop b4 on move
Right.
23.
Yeah. So top moves: bishop f8, knight f8, g6. Um, and all of those are pretty quiet developing moves. Okay, the engine's now saying things like rook e8. And then other kind of commonalities. Some rook 6 to c7.
Mm-hmm.
I see some like, for example, like I guess queen a7 now, especially I think now that your dark square bishop is never really gonna hassle my queen on a7 anymore. So there's some queen a7s, bishops. I still see the bishop c6s. Um, some let's see, any other commonalities like I guess those are more. There's an e5 in there somewhere, so e5 is still like playable for
Right.
me.
I think one thing, and
Um,
it's not really your decision anymore because of how you play the game, but one thing
right.
is that the engine doesn't love your rook on c6. And of course,
Yes.
neither do I. Rook on
Yes.
c6 is a bad piece because it blocks your bishop, and it allows me as white to dream of the move d5 more easily.
Yeah.
d5 is going to smack you in the face. It's going to open the e file to your loose bishop on e7. There's a number of reasons why you don't want your rook on c6, and you've got it there. Now, if you play rook c7, I might play bishop a5 like I did. So you're not in full control anymore,
Mhm.
but that should inform you in general for the game and to apply previously that you shouldn't have a fucking rook on c6 this game, like in this
Mhm.
position at all. Queen a8, I'm seeing as a big commonality because earlier the engine wanted bishop c6, queen b7. Now queen a8 is a very similar idea. It wants to, hit the e4 pawn and maybe threaten a5. And you actually played queen a8 in the game, so credit to you. But queen a8
Mhm.
is a good one here, a common move. Still, you're going to see those moves, bishop f8, knight f8. And guess what?
Yeah.
That should already be a reminder that those moves are just like those are A1 in this kind of structure.
Right.
Bishop F8 or Knight F8, use the F8 square. A lot of times in this opening, like way back on, let's say move 12, 13. Remember where we started?
Yeah. And you did the knight F1 and knight G3.
Exactly. But here I'm saying, like, as black, my instinct is rook E8 almost immediately. Rook E8 because I know that either bishop or knight to F8 is going to be a good move, and I don't want to be in a situation where I need to make those moves and they're not available. So rook E8, they're always there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a start. And maybe I would follow up with queen b6, bishop. But what I'm saying is we've just looked at the position basically at 3 different moments and probably got 3 different perspectives on what the engine likes in each one of them. And it hates rook on c6. It doesn't want you to shit down the c file with your rooks. It doesn't want you to play pawn to d5. And if we fast forward now from move 13 in the game, you'll notice that you move your fucking rooks 20 million times down the c file. You put your rook on c6 and you play d5.
Right.
I mean, there you go.
Right, yeah. That's pretty interesting. I think I've never analyzed a game this way before. I've never analyzed a game looking at just common moves to generate ideas. I've only really analyzed games more concretely. If they do this, I do this, but not like what are the general. I have one question about a specific idea, which is something that I thought might be an idea, but I see that it's not that commonly suggested. Just in general, actually, not even on a particular. Let's say around move. I don't know, move 15 or something. But would you ever consider trying to push the A and B pawns? Maybe after getting the knights to maybe after knight F8, knight G6 or something. Like, would those pawns ever be?
Definitely.
Okay. Because I was just noticing that I didn't really see. I didn't really see any B4s or A5s in the.
I saw a few of them, but the thing is, those pawn moves are connected a lot nicer with bishop c6 and queen b7. So it wants you to do those first, and they're probably just not showing up yet in the line because it needs those other moves. So if you take, let's say, h3, or I even want to go instead of rook c7. So let's have after bishop d3, move 14. I want to play bishop c6 there, and then I'm just going to play h3. I'm going to play queen b7 there as white. I don't know, I'll play bishop to d2. And then I actually just want to play rook f to e8 for black. So that's my move 16 as black.
Yeah.
And then, let's even take white's bishop again and move it from d2 to g5. And I feel like, once you're in a situation like this, like, the engine, it might not clamor for like b4 or a5, and b4 specifically, it wants you to realize that queen e2 is gonna like hit your a pawn and be annoying. It wants you to know that. But if you throw in a5, for example, the computer's not gonna slap you in the face. Like, a5's fine. A4, b4, these moves are fine. And you know what's the best part about them is it's a plan. It's something that you're like, okay, I'm executing this, like these are my next couple moves, I know what I'm doing. And, if your opponent continues to do what I did in the game, which is like more or less nothing, then you're gaining space. You're maybe playing b4, maybe bishop to b5, offering to trade light square bishops.
Right. By the way, is that light square bishop trade generally going to be good for black or white in this
I think most trades are going to be good for black. Most. Like, there's an overarching theme.
Yeah. Because black has less space.
Less space. So most trades are going to be good. And then it depends on the structure. If you trade light square bishops as black and then play pawn to e5 and I play pawn to d5, well, maybe that trade sucks.
Yeah.
If you do what you did in our game and you play pawn to d5, if you remember, you played d5, we traded dark square bishops, and then I played e5. And you notice that your light squared bishop in that position on move 27 is trash.
Right.
So it's like, hey, the dark square bishop trade was probably good if it could be achieved in a way where like God just jumps in and just yoinks the 2 bishops off the board. But you achieved it in a way where you like, hemorrhaged the bishop on b7 as a result. So of course then it was a bad trade.
Yeah.
So you have to think about it's like generally is something good or bad, and then like don't take into account what you're giving up in order to achieve something, and then ask yourself again, is it good or bad? Because if you start the game, you're like, okay, yeah, a dark square bishop trade would be good. But then in order to do it, you like put the pawns in a certain way, well, suddenly you might not be good anymore.
Yeah. Okay, that makes yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess the thing you were saying about the plans is like the cool thing about having a plan is yeah, you can just make moves. And all you need to do is look for does your opponent make a move that concretely like requires you to change what you're doing.
Yeah, or like does it threaten something? You know,
Threaten something.
you want to
Exactly.
be conscious of what your opponent's up to because guess what? Most players are not going to literally do nothing. So even though it looks like they're doing nothing or shuffling, you know, even in this game, it's like I was doing stuff, just nothing that crazy.
Yeah.
I was getting my knight over. You have to be always calculating my move e5 when your pawn's on d6. Like, you know, always be ready for calculating that move. Like, is that going to be a problem? Does it work? But otherwise, yeah, as long as you have a plan, something you're going for actively, that just feels good. Like you feel comfy knowing that you're not spending time thinking about what to do. You know what to do, and you're thinking if it's okay to do it, which is healthier.
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes total sense.
So let's play another one.
Yeah, let's do it.
We can
okay, I'm still in play.
I think we can just slap rematch here.
Okay, accept. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, and you take weight.
Okay. All right.
I don't think I remember what kind of Sicilian player you are. A dirty C3 player.
Yeah, very much so.
And the nice thing about this position is, although it might not be clear to everybody just yet, it will actually look incredibly identical to what we just looked at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How do I feel about this structure? I don't know. Yeah, maybe went for some ill-advised trades, but my thought process also that it can't be too much worse than what happened to me last game. I'm like, maybe I'm still in the mindset of like all trades are good.
Yeah, habits,
but
baby.
yeah, I mean, is what it is. Okay. Can I throw this in? Bishop c5.
I always like, I like the idea of somebody that can trade like you're doing, but whenever you do this, you generally have to be like a good and confident endgame
Player,
because otherwise the strategy will just fail you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And in fact, I'm now remembering that you and I played this line.
A similar, really similar line,
in the park. And I also recall it being somewhat of an endgame where it liquidated very quickly. And again, yeah, that strat is like you live and die by the sword in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because any position where your structure is worse, a2, c3, and then even the e5 pawn, although it looks good, can be considered a potential weakness because it's just it's extended. Anytime your structure is worse, you need to have something in your arsenal more than just trading pieces, because trading pieces will always benefit me in that case.
Yeah. It might be too late for that. Like, I don't think there's...
There's no going back now.
You know what I mean?
Everything's
there's no going back
off.
now. Yeah. Like, there's nothing I can do that's magically going to make my pawn on c3 better. Okay, so d8. Yeah. Mm. Okay, let's just get this in there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just so I don't have to think about rook d2s for a while. But your king is getting so active.
I'm sending it.
I know. Okay.
Following my own habits, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm, this might be a mistake. I don't know. No. Mm,
I can tell you that if you want to think of a position that you never want to
yeah.
have in chess boxing, it's the one you're in.
Because
If you're arguably slightly worse in an endgame, I can't think
oh
of
yeah, yeah,
anything
yeah.
worse in like the chess boxing frame
Slightly
of
worse
mind.
at an endgame.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh sure.
exactly.
Interesting. It's funny. Yeah, it is funny how that works. It's like, yeah, you're only slightly worse, but you're slightly worse in an endgame.
Yeah, and it's like the outlook of this position is like, you know, X% loss, Y% draw, and like no percent
Raw.
win.
Right.
And I don't mean that
Right.
because you're playing me. It's like it's just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's an annoying spot to be in, or it can be.
Yes. Yeah. You only want to be X% draw if you're really beating the shit out of the other guy
Yeah.
in the boxing part. Which
Exactly. Yeah.
for what it's worth, maybe that's the case. But
Indeed. Indeed.
let's not rely on it. Oh man. Yeah, and you're just gonna be faster to queen. I mean, there's what else can I do? I mean, it's 1, 2, whatever.
The thing is, I actually haven't I haven't counted how many moves. I'm like, yeah, I feel like I'm faster, and if I'm not faster, it's like, you know, that's
Yeah.
goes against my feeling, and so it'll be something to learn.
Yeah. Chat says, stall the clock. We are sending top men to punch Amon. Thank you. Thanks, chat.
Heroes, I tell you.
Ah, yeah. Well, that's tough. Man, okay, so yeah. Yeah. All right. We'll play it out. We'll play it out. We'll play it out. We'll play it out. You take my pawn if you want. Actually, yeah.
Oh, and then I can demonstrate my
Then I can.
pre-move
Yeah,
thing.
your technique. Oh, let's see it. 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 Not that you particularly need it with 2 minutes on the clock, but yeah, there it is. Yeah. Cool.
There you go.
Interesting. So yeah, okay. So one thing was it's funny because I'll start by saying that I think there's this misconception that lower rated players have, and maybe you've even heard this.
Okay.
But I think there's this misconception that I think lower rated players have where it's like they feel like if a grandmaster is going to outplay them and smack them around, it's going to be tactically early.
Yeah.
And they feel like if they make it to an endgame with a grandmaster, like, well, endgames are like simple and that's, you know, I'm going to draw him or something. It's going to be fine. But whenever I hear you talk or other grandmasters, I frequently hear, I want to get, if I'm playing someone I don't know how strong they are, I want to get them into an endgame because that's when I know they'll probably mess up and they're gonna misevaluate the position.
Yeah.
It's in particular,
true for sure.
Mm-hmm. And in particular, I think for me, like, I don't know how much of you know, like I definitely feel like there were certain moves that I probably played this game, in particular, like Bishop B5 early, like where I was just like, fuck it, trade.
Yep.
Um,
And that's a
kind
good
of off the
example
heels
because
of last game.
Bishop B5 was like, and taking was probably not good. Or I was happy to see it.
It's just not good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's my good bishop. I mean, my pawns are all on dark squares.
Exactly.
What's correct there? Like Bishop C4?
So this
Or
is...
not even, maybe not even move the bishop, but...
So I think
Yeah, okay,
I think in this position, if you're doing that whole knight c3 thing that you're
D2.
doing, then you just do it right away.
Yeah.
Like you start with knight c3. Bishop c4 is definitely probably the next move there. Bishop c4, bishop e2, something like that. But I think at this point it's like there's bishop d3, e2, and c4, and they're all better because they don't trade.
Because they don't trade.
They don't trade the bishop like you did. So you can ask me which one, and I'll be like, oh, maybe this one, maybe that one. But the point is they're all better because they don't trade.
Should I almost think of your light squared bishop? Maybe this is getting too deep into opening theory bullshit. Theory is the wrong word. But should I almost think of your light squared bishop, let's say after move 7 or around move 7, should I almost think of it as like a French bishop? Where you actually have to work a little bit to... It's not as bad.
Not as bad. I know where you're going with that, and you'll probably harm yourself with that stigma more than more than benefit. Because like I'm about to play b6 and bishop b7, and it's quite a strong piece on that diagonal. So I wouldn't go that far, but I will say that like especially with the trade that you're doing is also in stride. So let's say that after d6, if you want to put it on the board so that your chat can see, but like let's just say bishop d3. I'll go
after which move? Sorry, after which move?
Instead of your bishop to b5 check, bishop d3.
Yep.
And so I'll go like let's just castle. So I'll go bishop e7, white castles, black castles. Let's say white goes knight c3. Black decides to take. White takes back on c3. Black decides to go b6. White decides to go bishop, bad move, bishop to d2 in that position. Black goes bishop a6.
Black goes bishop a6, yeah.
So it's like, okay, you'll play the move maybe bishop takes a6 here, knight takes a6, and it's not your favorite piece to give up there. But this is me really going after the trade. Like I'm trying to force this as black. I'm going like out of my way to trade for your piece. I'm misplacing my knight on a6, and you've done nothing but move your bishop once to d3. Whereas like you playing bishop b5 check is like, you know, you're like chasing after the trade from me. I go bishop d7, and then you're taking me. I'm taking back, and I'm going, okay, wait a minute. The aftermath of that is the bishops are gone. You've spent 2 moves to trade it off, and I have a piece that's now developed onto a square as a result of that. So like that just feels like a win in all 3 categories. Whereas when the one that I just showed you, knight on a6, is like, I could say that it's a win if I consider trading bishops a win, but overall, like it's a loss to have my knight on the rim like that. You know, I've also spent time and invested time into doing this, so there's some downsides as well. Whereas like the one that you did to me, there was no downsides for me.
Got you. Yeah.
But I wonder what's going on in this line, and the reason I wonder is because I strongly remember playing you in this line in the park. Over the board, and I remember the game being slightly similar. In the sense that there were a lot of initial trades. Certainly the queens disappeared, and then you're just kind of in the situation where your structure was worse.
Yeah.
And your structure will always be worse, and like your trend is going to be always downhill when you don't have your queen. White only survives in this opening if you have that structure. Like if you go to move 13, basically if you look at the position, the engine is telling black, and like telling black pretty seriously, trade the queens. Because on move 13, if I don't play queen takes d1, it's saying, well, hang on, white's next move is queen g4. And white then gets an initiative. If the king castles, the bishop will look at the h6 square. the queen from g4 maybe swings to g3, watches over the c3 pawn, the e5 pawn. White keeps the queen on the board and keeps his chances alive. Black thrives by trading, because when you have a weak pawn structure or weak pawns, you want the queens on the board. That's your chance. If you trade queens and play an endgame, your pawn structure is going to be weaker and weaker and more apparent and easier for me to target.
Right.
And I feel like that happens a lot with you, is we just kind of like, you get the pawn structure that's weak, and then all of a sudden the queens just come off. And it's like, that should never be something that happens in stride. If it's always forced, and here it was, by the way, after I took on c3, I took on e5, it was forced. You had to trade queens.
Yeah.
So if it ever happens that all that happens and it's forced, well, you fucked up, clearly.
Don't go down the line. Yeah.
Don't go down the line. You've messed up by playing knight c3. You've messed up by playing bishop b5 earlier. That all contributes to why this position's no good.
Yeah.
Or if it's not forced, and let's just say that after d takes e5, when I played it on move 11, let's just pretend that my knight's not on c6, and that you have an option to play d takes or knight takes. Playing d takes would be a terrible decision, because you trade queens and it's counterintuitive considering your pawns are getting weak. Whereas the correct spot would be to play knight takes e5. Again, assuming I don't have a knight to take it back. Knight takes e5 preserves your queen, and even though structurally you're a little bit worse, you have the queen on the board, so you have good chances. You're letting it all happen in stride. You're taking a weakness, and then you're letting the queens come off the board, like in a forced sequence. So it's like, it's just gravy for your opponents, who are happy to do this, because there's no risk for black. Once the queens are off the board, the danger levels go way down.
Is there any avoiding this sort of thing after I play knight c3, or is it pretty much all forced after knight c3?
No, knight c3, the way you played it on move 10 is very bad.
Yeah.
Because of this. And the engine will only be like, oh, 0.5, whatever. But it's a 0.5 where it's like 20 pieces get vacuumed off the board, and the end game is like permanently a certain evaluation and very difficult to change.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So.
Okay.
That's why it felt like a very downhill game. And I completely agree with what you said about lower rated players thinking that, like, a very common misconception, and I see this a lot, where it's like, there's different ways to win a game. I can win a game in an end game and be winning the entire game. And I actually prefer those games stress-wise compared to a game where I might win in 20 moves, but maybe I'm sacking some pieces, and it's like, okay, if this 1200 all of a sudden, pulls out the beads on me, like, he might actually beat me. If he starts to put together some moves, like, I'm not always totally playing sound. Not always. And that's maybe because I'm playing a weaker player, but also because I'm willing to take more risks, and I will never prefer those games to the end game grinds, because I know the end games are more guaranteed. If somebody can play that well against me and hold a slightly worse end game as a 1200 over the course of 50 moves, like, I mean, that's just insane. I'll always be impressed by that, and never think it's as likely as me maybe missing a tactic or things getting wild in the middle game. So players will often be like, oh, damn, like, I lasted like 50 moves against you. And in my head, I'm like, hey, congrats. Like, honestly, congrats. That's like a special for you, and I'm glad you're happy about it. But in my head, I'm always like, that's kind of the wrong mentality, kind of wrong way to think of it. Like, you lasted 50 moves, but I was sure I was going to win the game after 8.
Right.
Whereas another guy might go down in 20 moves, but I wasn't ever sure that I was going to win until move 18.
Right, the checkmating sequence or something.
So, yeah, I do see
there's
that
this element. I think there's this element of it where losing one way feels so much less bad than losing the other way. Because when you get tactically crushed, you're like, oh, like, I got smoked. This is gonna end up on YouTube, not whatever, right? But it's like, it's like, oh wow, I made it into an end game, and like I was a tempo or 2 tempi behind in a pawn race. Like, oh hey, that's not so bad, Like, oh, that's the kind of way I would lose against someone of my level.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And I think part of the reason, or maybe not even part of it, maybe just the reason that people get into this mindset, myself included, this game, is because it feels Like not at an intellectual level, but like an emotional or primal level. Like it feels less bad. But you're right that yeah, if you're just better the whole time, then like it doesn't mean shit.
Right.
I want to dig into something you said, which is that you thought it was like kind of the worst thing to have in a chess boxing situation. Is that just because you were saying like, you know, being slightly worse in an endgame, right?
I think this was around, I don't know, move 26 or something, just to put some visual on the board.
Yeah.
Around here, let's say.
Right. So white might be able to draw this.
Yep. But and let's say if two GMs were playing a classical game, I would even say should be able to.
Got it. But the reason it sucks is because it's just very stress-free for the opponent, and they're always going to be able to, if nothing else, move faster than you.
Yeah, you have to understand that in a position like this, if black makes a mistake, the evaluation will, like, it's going to be extremely hard. It'll have to be like a catastrophic mistake for the evaluation to go below 0. If black messes up or doesn't play accurately, maybe they play king c6, maybe they play rook e7, like goes backwards or moves the rook to a shitty square. It's like not that many bad things are going to happen to black.
Right.
Whereas if white makes a move that's subpar, like, I don't know, I have the position after I played h5 on the board as black. So let's say h5, and then now it's like white's turn. And, you know, you can kind of see the engines like, oh, a3, f3, king e3. And it's like, if I just take a move, like, I don't know, rook to b4, and then it's like, oh, the engine's like, we don't really like that move, actually, because after rook b4, guess what? Black might play the move rook d5. And after rook d5, suddenly the pawn's attacked, and if you go back to f4 to hit my f7 pawn and take your e5 pawn with check, it's like, oh, fuck. Well, let me defend my e5 pawn to f4. Oh, shit, I didn't realize that pawn to f4 took away the f4 square from my rook. Now my rook can't go back there. Now white has no active plans. Now black doesn't have to guard his f7 pawn, which was the only thing making this position like somehow even playable for white. And then pawn to f4 happens, and it's like, okay, well, it's lost now. And that can happen so quickly. So it's just that black's margin of error is like extremely high, and white's is very small.
Very small.
And the punishment is, you know, it's the equivalent of like trying to do something perfectly, or like, you know, playing the floor as lava, except in black's case, the floor isn't lava, it's water. And in your case, the floor is lava. So black can mess up and black can mess up and not lose the game. White can mess up and probably will lose the game.
Right.
So I think that's the worst to have in a chess boxing situation, because it's like, let's say your opponent as black here has been punched like hell. You know, whatever. Like, they're probably not going to fucking, you know, they're going to play pawn to g6, pawn to a6, and like they could just shuffle for like 200 moves. And like, you're not really going to win as white. So, whereas as white, if you've been punched around, like, trust me, you're losing this game probably in like 5 moves.
Yeah. Really easy to play this wrong. Yeah. And go from potentially drawing to just like instantly losing.
That's how I feel about it. Yeah, just like it's not a position that offers any upside. Whereas if you take a position earlier on, that moment, I think it was move 13 when I took your queen. If I don't take your queen on d1 and you get to keep your queen, then all of a sudden that's a position that honestly I would rather play as white in a chess boxing scenario, because I think white's going to drum up some tricky stuff, and black has these dreams of like, oh, if I trade the queen, if I trade the queen, if I trade the queen, but it's not going to happen. White's not going to let that happen. Keep the queen on, be tricky, and that's a position that I think white will win if black's dinged up, and white won't really mess up too badly. So
that's really interesting. Yeah, I got to think about that and how that kind of differs. Almost, not that it differs from other formats. Like, I guess this wisdom still applies in just any old blitz, but that's really interesting. The concept of like, it's almost like there's some function of like, how many of the moves that you can play in a given position, like how many are good versus bad? And if you can just play the side where there's more moves that don't lose the game, than the side where there are fewer moves that lose the, or I should say, fewer moves they have to play to not lose the game, then you're just going to be in good shape.
And that plays into what I was talking about when we played these games. Remember what I said? I said I'm gonna try to play an average or below average move quickly.
Right.
And that is exactly that strategy. It's like if you look at the position, that rook end game that we were looking at, black can play an average or below average move instantly, and the evaluation will not change that much. Whereas, like, it's much harder for white to do the exact same thing. And when faced against that strategy, white's probably going to be, like, thinking and blah, blah, blah. Right? Hey, we just got a raid from, well, guess who? Hanson Eric. There was, like, an Arena Kings tournament going on concurrently. So he was streaming it on the other channel, Hanson Eric. So there we go. Welcome, everybody.
Hanson Eric. Wow, Hanson Eric. That's
Eric just came third in Arena Kings. That must have been a crazy performance because that's hard to do. You know Arena Kings, this tournament?
Oh yeah, that's some shit.
It's some shit. That's for sure.
How many title players are usually in that? Like hundreds? Is it?
I wouldn't say hundreds of title players, but maybe like something like 50 title players.
Yeah.
And like definitely hundreds and hundreds of players because it's open to any rating. That's the thing about Arena Kings.
Damn. Yeah, good stuff. Is it Austria time over there?
Is it what? Sorry.
Is it because Eric's? Is it like in Austria? Is that?
Oh no,
so
he's
like
sorry.
pretty
So
late.
he just got back.
He back?
Like, yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's here.
Yeah,
He was just streaming downstairs. We got a couple setups.
Oh, that's it.
There we go. That's how we farm the viewers, Toph. We gotta get Jeff a stream. We gotta get Dylan a stream, and then we just gotta raid the chessboxing channel.
Yeah, just feed them all back in.
Exactly.
Perfect. Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, I wish I could have been keeping up with the coverage from the Austria event, but yeah, it's just 5
No, but you're on the West Coast, Toph.
Yeah,
You got an excuse, buddy, because those times would be brutal for you.
Yeah, West Coast of Europe is like the other side of the world.
And we used to live in Calgary, and honestly, when we were living there, I was like, and we covered some events. I did some commentary, and I was just like, fuck, like, what am I doing right now? Like, why am I living all the way over here? This is killing me. And it's just like Title Tuesday, for example, even this Arena Kings tournament. It's like, why have that take place in my life 2-3 hours earlier? It's just so much more comfortable to play it midday. So there were some things where I've really noticed the quality of life improvement just with the time zone for like this chess stuff.
Yeah, if you ever have to interface with Europe, I bet that's just going to be the case always.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. So any other questions about this game? The games were pretty similar. Like we were, for anyone just joining, sure, I guess, I was trying to play in a style that was just sort of like quick, simple, not trying to be too fancy trades. And I just think that could be a frustrating style to play against, like for anyone really. And you guys all probably know when you queue up on chess.com, you once in a while will run into that, bastard opponent that just plays immediately. And you're like, man, but he's so bad. Like he's just chucking moves out there. And even though he might be making some mistakes, the fact of the matter is he's making all these moves twice the speed that you are. And then you get in time pressure and lose. And it's like the classic formula. I'm guilty of losing to that. literally every time. I mean, people watch my Title Tuesdays. That's it. That's the formula. I just described it.
Right.
So I was practicing with Toph here, trying to play that style against him. And now obviously I'm going to be much better at it because my moves are going to be like pretty close, like pretty good average moves compared to someone at Toph's like 1800 level. So what I'm saying is if you can hang in when I'm doing that, then you will crush people when they're doing that, like at your level.
Yeah. It's the it's the kind of thing where you even described it the other week or last week when I think we got that guy who played like a really shit version of the Scandi where, you kind of, when we were talking about the game, you were like, sometimes you just know it's shit.
Yeah.
Like the opponent's playing something and it's shit.
Yep.
But the problem is with you, like, when people at my level play this kind of style, typically it's like I have a moment where I'm like, wait, this is actually really bad for them. And if I just like figure out how to punish it, I can probably just own them.
For sure.
But with you, you're never gonna be that bad.
That's right. It's
So
never gonna be like, oh, here's the win, find it.
right. It's always gonna be like, fuck, like I am always gonna be a little bit down on time because you're gonna find the ideas a little bit faster, and I've got to strike that balance between like playing a good enough move that I don't end up in a position like this game where I'm just, straight up just worse in an end game because things just, the dust settled the wrong way. And yeah, so it's really, it is really interesting. This is actually like,
so what
very,
I wanted
very
to
cool
do,
practice.
what I wanted to do as a follow-up was,
okay,
like, because here's the thing, if somebody uses that style against you, really, you to some extent have to match it a little bit. Because if you don't match it at all, then you will kind of lose that game. Like, not many games are just going to finish in 25 moves, and you're going to, like, sit there, use the beads and find the best move against all your opponent's moves and crush them. So, to some extent, if your opponent plays that fast, loose style, you do have to match them a little bit. So, I want to now pass it over to you to play some games, but I want you to some degree, use that style.
Okay.
Like, use it yourself. Now, you might have to take a few more liberties. Like, instead of choosing that 1 minute think about, like, a deep line, choose the safer option. Now, if you really feel like something's there, spend your time. But for the most part, I want you to stay ahead on time compared to your opponent. That doesn't have to be every single move. It's not like, oh, I'm down on time, I resign. Like, within reason. Sometimes, for example, in these games, I was down on time against you a little bit in the beginning, and then it's sort of like, once we got in the middle game, it went in one direction. So try to stay up on time. We can leave the mics on or whatever, but I'm not going to say anything, obviously, because you're going to be playing rated games. But the point is, just try to stay up on time, and have that be your style, because you know how annoying it is, which means, like, doing that style yourself is going to be quite effective.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
So let's do that. We just got a raid from Bortnik over here. So we got, Bortnik is a real beast on chess.com. So now the pressure's on, Toph. We got all of Bortnik's viewers. They're also 3,000 rated. All of them. They're all 3,000.
All of them.
Yeah.
It's actually a prerequisite. I tried one time to watch Bortnik's stream, and it was like, it kicked me out because it said,
it was like, your rating's not good enough, man. Almost there. Got to come back when it's done.
I will say, shout outs to Bortnik's YouTube clips. I don't know if this is like an intentional thing he's doing, but he's got a very funny way of saying checkmate.
How does he say it? Because I've seen some Bortnik clips on YouTube, because they actually do get recommended like crazy to me. So I agree with you. He's doing something on YouTube, which is great, but I haven't noticed that. So what do you mean?
Oh, if I could do my best impression of it, he goes like, checkmate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now that you mention
it, people always comment on it. People are like, man, I love the way this guy says checkmate.
Yeah, if anyone's seen him, I know 100% what you're talking about.
Yeah. If you want to describe what we're doing for the raiders, I could start my first game up and just get into it.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't you jump into it, and I will find your game.
All right. Okie dokie. I'm just searching on Blitz. Okay. What's this country flag? Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yep.
Oh.
But I know you had to hover over that, didn't you?
I did have to hover that one.
Yeah,
I did have to hover that one.
I was like, that would have been crazy from Toph.
That's it. Yeah.
So I've basically sort of oh my god, this is perfect. This is perfect. For a fact that what your opponent's doing is, a little not great, right? You know that for a fact. So it's like, I think this is kind of perfect that I challenged Toph basically to play in a style where it's like, just be conscious of the time, be conscious of it. Don't ever let yourself get, minute and a half down on your opponent. Because guess what? Like, the moves that they're firing out are not going to be, they shouldn't be
optimal,
better than the moves you're firing out at the same speed. They definitely shouldn't be optimal. And if the strat backfires at the end of the game, then I'm going to have even more to talk about.
Right. Right.
And I think everyone in chat can relate. There's always that guy that's just, You find them in the pool, they just full send attack or something, or they just play one move like super quickly, and then you're like, wait a minute, that's bad. I'm gonna do this, and then you do it, and then they reply super quickly, and you're like, there's no way they calculated all this. There's no way they saw all this, and it's an annoying style for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's
and
like
he's playing fast. I'm definitely a little bit gonna be a little bit down on time.
And there's only two strats here, Toph. The first one is absolutely obliterate the guy and spend your time doing it. But I will say, like, most people like under 2000 just aren't very good at that. And like, then the point is option number 2 should be considered more, which is keep up with them, because pretty much anyone at around your level on chess.com is someone you should be able to keep up with. Like
Right.
the quality of moves that they play should not be insanely higher than the quality of move that you can produce in the same amount of time.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, like right there, I'm just gonna take the fucking rook.
Mm-hmm.
I know going slightly up on material is probably just fine. It might not be the best move, but it's probably just not the worst move.
Right.
Fuck it.
You don't want to overthink things. You're right at that,
Right.
you know, right at that threshold. So now it's like you're in a position that you've set yourself up for. But if you take a look at the time, you are down compared to him. Still, you've got 3 minutes. Like that's a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
But this game has trended a little more in the direction of the first one, which was like,
yeah,
you know, you got to try to just like win on the board if you're gonna spend your time. But
right.
that's why I'm really curious about this part of the game, because if your technique isn't very good here, then it's clear that you really shouldn't be going for this strategy of like spending the time.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. That makes sense. Is that? Yeah. Okay. I briefly considered taking on G6. Okay. I'm just gonna go back. I guess he has like bishop D. Yeah. Oh, okay. Knight takes. I was thinking this was like okay. Yeah. How?
yeah, sleazy McCheesy. I gave advice. I don't take it.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and. Yeah, I'm spending a little bit of time here. I guess bishop c3 might be a thing. Rook g6 might be a thing. Rook g6 gets out of knight e2. Okay. He just throws in the check. Rook b2 is weird. So I will go with this. Yeah, we did. I will say, regardless of the outcome of this game, we did fail to play the style you described. Because I'm definitely like, I should kill this guy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Huh. I'm trying to strike this balance. I hope I don't get just mated. Maybe I just get mated. I don't know. I'd love to not. At least his bishop's always pinned. Yeah, this is so weird. Guess king f2. I don't want to go. Guess I king f2. I mean, maybe he kills me. If he kills me, he kills me. Yeah, this is like. I thought this was fine. There's no bishop d4, right? No, bishop d4, queen d4. I thought this was okay. Yeah, maybe I fucked this up somehow. Yeah, and you're totally right that like maybe this just wasn't worth it because I didn't find the KO and you know, I don't know.
As the person who wanted to suggest this, I'm getting
Yeah.
exactly what I want out of this.
Right. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I still feel like there is a win, but it's it's hard and
Cope more, motherfucker. Cope more.
Yeah. Okay.
I still feel there's a win. Said everyone who missed a win.
Yeah.
Ever.
Whoa. Interesting. Very nice. Okay. All right. We failed.
And this
boys.
game couldn't have ended in a
That's
more classic
so interesting.
way. It
Yeah,
couldn't
because
have
it was
ended in a more
exactly what you
classic
predicted.
way. It's
It was exactly what you predicted.
Yeah.
So what would you have done?
It's so
would you have
classic.
done?
So basically, for like, obviously you know this because you felt it happen, but Toph's opponent played the way I asked Toph to play.
Yeah.
He literally did it. He played some fucking bad moves.
Yeah.
Some atrocious moves. Like, I'm talking about you were like plus 20 at some point.
Yeah, at some point. Like,
but
let's
the
say
point
like
is that at some point, that there were so many points. Like, if you look at this game, I want to bring up, like, I got to bring like game review into this. Like, he must have been just littered with like blunders or like.
Yeah. The funny thing is, it's hard. Well, I guess I can just do the same thing. Like, I could even just adopt a similar setup out of the opening or whatever.
Similar setup, you mean like as him?
Like, I could even just like, instead of like going on this, like orchestrating some kind of attack, like I could even have just kind of spent a bunch of moves, flow charting some system out where I just.
Right. But for example, when I
hit on my bishops or something.
When I was like, hey, like, get some quick moves off the board, when he plays the move F5, like getting quick moves off and not calculating that much, not going for that much is the opposite of what you did, because you took it, then you played H3 and G4. That's like very forcing, very committal. To do something like that arguably does require more calculation than you put in.
Yeah. So maybe
like if you're gonna play that loose style of like, oh, I'm not gonna calculate that much, then don't play things that need calculation. Play after F5.
That is a huge
E5.
problem I have. That is a huge problem I have.
Just play E5 or just castle, either direction, or play H3. Like, the point is, you're going H3 G4. Okay. That's the stuff that you should think about. But if I'm asking you to play in a style where you're not really supposed to think too much, then don't do that.
Right.
Because then it was actually him. He's the one that wasn't thinking, right? And if you look at his opening, like, knight to D5 that he played, double question mark. Move 13.
Yep.
Right? And then it's like, okay, takes, and then you follow up with a double question mark. And knight G5. And the point being that this game was just you and him. Like, he might make a blunder, but then you don't capitalize on it. That might, and it does happen. He goes bishop F5 after rook G1, double question mark. Then he's blundering more. Bishop takes D3. And it gets to the point where, he played a great game, but if we take a look at move 21, in this position, you're down like 2.5 minutes here.
Yeah.
At this point. And, the evaluation is slightly better for you, for sure. Like, more than slightly better, but in the grand scheme of things, for how winning it needs to be for you to feel confident that it's impossible for you to lose it, I don't think we're close to that yet.
Makes sense.
So, you're great, but you've invested so much time here. Now, if I had this position, I wouldn't mind being down to 20 seconds. Because I'd be like, okay,
this is find the win.
This is at my threshold where like I know that this is something I can win. But your threshold is not there. So you got to have more time on, like, way more time on the clock. Because, for example, this game progressed and, knight takes D4, rook takes G6, knight D2, king D1, move 25. Like, this is all fine. But you got to just be going in the flow here. After king takes E2, all of a sudden queen E8, and you're getting forked. Like, you're losing your rook. And then it's like, there's 3 pawns for you, 2 pawns for your opponent, and then even material. And basically, unless you find literally probably the only move on the board to win, like, you're going to be lost. And that situation happened. You played king F2 and rook G1. Fantastic moves. But guess what? They're only fantastic because after queen F6, the old engine wants you to play rook takes G7, queen takes, king takes, and bishop C3 and win the game.
Yeah.
And if you don't play that, which you did not, all of a sudden it goes from plus 20 to plus 1. And plus 1 is not enough of an advantage for you to be down 4 minutes. That's like a losing situation. And then, if you look at the game, of course, you didn't play it, like queen a8. And then your opponent played some fine moves. And obviously, you got 10 seconds, whatever, you're going to blunder and you're going to lose. That's just how it happens.
And it just peters out.
So the point is, he used the style that I was saying effectively. And as a perfectionist, it's tough to do because you're like, I can't bring myself to play a move that's like not good or that I haven't thought out.
I gotta work on it. I don't think it's gonna fully truly happen this stream, but I will.
No, it
work
won't.
on it.
It surely won't. I didn't ask you to do it.
It's definitely against my nature.
It's definitely against my nature. I didn't ask you to do it thinking you'd do it. I asked you to do it knowing you would fail and that this would happen.
But then we'd have something to talk about.
Exactly. Because he did it. He did it. Your opponent made some very bad moves. You knew it. You knew he was doing suspicious stuff. You capitalized on it to a degree, but you took way too much time. Yeah. Like at some point, if you're just that up on material, you got to know that like chess is not an unfair game. If your opponent is cranking out BS moves, you don't need to spend a minute on them each time. Like trust your instinct. Like not only will your instincts and his instincts be around par in general, but if you already know he's a loose, suspicious player, yours should be better, period. And you're spending like way too much time on them. It's like you don't need to play that much better than him. You can just play a little bit better than him. And you're sitting in a position where you're up a rook. So by default, if you're up a rook, you don't even need to play the same caliber move as him. You can play a much worse move objectively than he's playing and still maintain a sizable edge.
That's a good point. That is a very good point.
Do you want to try it again?
All right.
That was a terrible
Let's try it again. Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it. All right. I'm going back in. Jumping back into the pool. All right. Well, I know that country flag.
Did you need to hover?
You got the game?
No, I got the game, yeah. Just popped up.
Yeah.
So
they're burning a lot of time on e4 knight f3.
Good. You're going to need to stay ahead.
Yeah.
And by the way, it is easier to do this with the white pieces, just naturally. Like the strategy.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it is easier. So let's see if we can get some, because again, it doesn't really matter about the validity of it. I would much rather see you with a more just for the purposes of this, a more fluctuating eval bar and keeping up your speed and instincts rather than a steady eval bar where you're like wasting all your time. Because, hey, you used all your time last game and it was still a fluctuating eval bar. Because, I mean, you're playing 1700s, 1800s, buddy. These guys are not going to be playing perfect games themselves. Like, not even close.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay. Fuck it.
There you go. I mean, I understand to a certain degree. If I'm playing Magnus Carlsen, I might want to spend more time than usual, and I might get into time pressure. And to some extent, it's unavoidable because you're like, well, this guy's literally going to be playing the best moves. If I try to keep up with him, the quality of my moves is going to be lower. Like, it has to be. That's just how it works. Whereas, you're playing someone at your level who if you keep up with them, like, you can probably play the same caliber or better moves.
Yeah. So it's funny because I feel like this guy's playing the way that I normally play. Like, he's...
For sure. And you don't have to stay so much up on time that it's like the other guy. Because the other guy was egregious, right? You are going to lose games if you play like a maniac. So I'm saying like what we see now, this is good. You're like same pace as this guy relatively. You got that extra pawn you took earlier. So you're just, you're trying to hang on to it.
I will say this guy's kind of coming at me though. This guy's definitely coming at me. Hang on. So here I think I need to either I'm lost or I do need to spend some time finding some
totally agree.
So
but
maybe
then the same thing will probably happen with a guy who's employing this strategy. Like at some point, it's like, okay, I can't literally lose the game, so let me spend some time.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And in the interest of not going 2-2-2 down on time, I'm just hoping there's some line where after, yeah, like this, and then let's say, oh, this is kind of fascinating. Can I just take and then take the bishop on e7, or does he have some crazy? Okay, I'm gonna take. Maybe this is why I don't play this style. Maybe I just get into too much fucking. I'm like, oh, I'll just play reasonable moves when I don't lose. Then I just lose. I think I can just. Okay, I think I've saved it. Again, I'm trying to not spend too much time. I think this is fine? Question mark. Okay, I'm gonna go bishop f4. I'm just trying to make sure I didn't literally like lose the whole thing. Bishop f4. Do I have to go bishop f4? Or I mean, do I have to do something else? Okay, I'm gonna go bishop f4. I don't know. Is that a KO? Am I getting KO'd? Hang on. Is this why I don't play? Is this why I don't play like this? I just get checkmated when I do. Oh, clearly there's a balance I have to strike, dude. That was, if I'm getting killed, that was actually very nice, and I'm not too upset about it. Man. All right, yeah. I don't see anything else I can do. You know, it is what it is. Wow. Now, could I have saved that?
Yeah, I think it's probably about equal after rook 7 to e1.
Rook 7 to e1 after rook 7 to e1. Oh, right here. Yeah. Oh god, those moves are weird to find. I'm sorry.
They are weird to find. I totally agree.
Because you're like defending each other with something in the middle.
It feels weird because it's the rook on a1 looks hanging, and then the rook on e1 looks hanging.
I gotta remember that. Yeah,
so
that's cool.
The thing is, this was actually a much better game from that perspective of what I was looking for.
From that perspective,
when you think about it, like you played quick. He was also coming at you. He had a good he clearly was a strong player, and he played queen b4 on move 12.
Let me find queen b4.
You did spend time in this position, and you should, because it's either lost or you have a resource. You spent time, you found a great resource, which is knight c3, but you didn't spend too much time because it's like, look, the resource is there or it's not. If you don't see it after a minute and a half, like it's probably just not there.
Right.
Or it's just lost anyway. And if it's lost anyway and you are going to lose a piece, then you probably need to play quickly no matter what. So you played knight c3, which is fantastic. The line you found, fantastic. And after queen takes pawn on c2, you were within 45 seconds of him. Like, you were in a tough spot. You're not going to be up every time on every game for the rest of your chess career. So you did pretty well here.
Man, yeah. Damn, yeah, actually everything was fine until I got mated.
That's what I mean. And then you were just in your own head about that last thing. But if you had played rook e1 there, that's a position where all of a sudden I like white. I think you turn on the jets with h3, king h2, bishop e5, queen g3. There's a c7 pawn hanging. Like, I think all of a sudden you spring to life in this position, and you know, then you can get your time back that you invested to survive earlier.
This is a totally, well, it's not unrelated, but it's a question that I think is something I've been thinking about, which is how much time do you advocate players under 2000 or whatever do on, like, let's say Puzzle Rush or puzzles? Because I fluctuate. Sometimes I'll do them. Some weeks I'll do puzzles a good bit, and some weeks I just won't. And I wonder if you think it's a good thing to do to, like, develop a sense for, like, that whole sense of if there is a move versus there isn't a move. So just play something.
You mean for, like, finding when to invest time, like, to have the instincts to know when there might be something?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Or just in general.
No, not really. Like, I definitely think tactics are important, but I think it's I think tactics are probably overrated, if I had to put a like if I had to give it a descriptor, I would say overrated. Like people can grind tactics, get a high tactics rating, and like so what? You know, when it comes to execution in the game, it's not always there. So I think, you know, just generally tactics are great, and I think they're a good thing to do. But I think your tactics are more like your group lessons in boxing. It's like it's good to stay in the routine. It keeps your mind like focused on the subject, and those things will come in handy in a boxing fight. But at the same time, I don't think that you're really going to improve tremendously with group classes. You're not going to improve tremendously by just doing tactics. There's obviously exceptions. Like some people are just that disciplined, and some people can have they just have like crazy retention. They can see patterns and just remember them. But tactics are good to do to familiarize yourself, but they're not like, it's not like you can just grind tactics 10 hours a day and become some like god. There's so many elements to chess, like positional stuff, strategy, like minor pieces, you know, maneuvering, king safety, space, and it's just like tactics is just one of the many facets. So it's just an easy thing to study, you know? It's an easy thing to train. It's just there, you just click, like, haha, it's fun, you get to solve it. But, you know, just as important might be understanding which pawn structures are good and bad and how to play with and against them. And it's like, no, that actually sounds fucking boring, so I'm going to do tactics.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You just feel like you're getting more out of it because you see that fucking number going up.
Yeah, and they're fun to do.
Yeah. And
if you get to do them in a game, it feels amazing.
Oh,
Whereas
if
you exploit somebody's isolated pawn in a game, I mean, you're a fucking nerd. So
yeah, that's hella true.
You know, it's like, hey, that's great, I did the isolated pawn thing. It's like, yeah, congrats, pal. I sacked my queen for mate.
I feel it. Okay. Yeah, just kind of curious. One more?
Yeah.
Should I throw it in?
But can you give me like 1 minute? I'm just gonna go to the bathroom.
Oh yeah. Okay, I feel it.
I'll leave you on. I'll leave your mic on so you can be the mule for both streams.
Perfect.
All right, I'll be 1 sec.
I'm gonna grab a beverage, but I'll be there.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys. Neither of us are here. You have 10 seconds of free time. I'll leave you guys with Toph. BRB.
Okay. All right, what up, chat? Thank you to the resubs that I didn't thank while I was gone, including Funk. What's up, dude? Wait, let me pull up the chessbrot chat. I haven't read y'all's chat in a while. I'm in rapid rating, blah, 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 blah. Beats or no beats, 1800 rapids. Has to be higher than average 10-year-old double chair stream. Nah, I'm back. What's up, JXV? Sag, mate. No, I'm saying I think there's so much of like the lower levels of chess, and honestly probably the higher levels too, where it's like, you know, like not all of us are like tournament players in that sense. I'm starting to be more of a tournament player. Like I'm actually going to classical tournaments now, but I think there's like, you know, when you're just playing on ladder and shit, so much of your, you know, you remember the sick wins, you know, you remember when you got those beautiful tactics and shit. And so to me, it's like, I'm in it for that endorphin boost. You know what I'm saying? And that's definitely informed how I've, I guess, developed as a player. But yeah, this is cool to work on because, like, I think there's definitely this big fucking weakness I have when it comes to, like, not even just time management, but just like almost like position management. So this is actually pretty fucking good. I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. Good practice, good info. It's I'm not gonna get it today for sure. Like I'm gonna try to work on it though. Maybe even on my like second account. I might try to like specifically play like this or something. I'm probably gonna do some streams later in the week. I want to do some streams where like if I ever go down on time, I do some push-ups or something. What's up, man? Welcome back. I was saying I might even do some because I want to work on this style, and I was saying I might even do some streams like later in the week or whatever. I'm traveling again this weekend, but
yeah,
I might even do some streams where like every time I go to, like if I play a game, if I go down on time, maybe outside the first 10 seconds or some shit, I have to do like 5 push-ups or something, you know, like some shit like that to really incentivize myself.
Yep, and then
to be able to,
you know, sometimes that can be unrealistic because it's like, what you just did in this game, it was so worth it to invest time to find knight c3. So
Right.
I like to say, like, you know, as long as you keep the time within a minute at all times, but then your goal is to stay up on time in general. That's like a pretty good place to start. But yeah, those things can be fun because like people like watching them, they like to see you fail them, and they're good practice.
Yeah.
Because you'll need to keep even on time. Like I think in a chess boxing scenario, time is so important. Like you could have a good position, and like the game that we just saw, right? The game we just saw you play, I think if was it 2 games ago? Oh yeah, the attacking one. Are you muted? Okay, maybe something happened on my end. I don't hear you right now. Are you deafened or something in our call? I see that on the. I don't know if you can hear me. I hope you can. Okay. Not sure. I think so. Amused bystander. Like I was just hearing him, and now I don't. I'm like wondering what's going on. Like tripping.
My fault. Okay, how about now? Did I fix it?
Yes.
I changed some audio stuff around. My bad.
Okay.
Okay.
You were like mid sentence too. It dropped. I was like, what? I'm tripping right now.
I have a theory. Sometimes Discord, because it's really fucking weird, it will change my keybinds on the fly, and I think I might have deafened myself without knowing I deafened myself.
Yeah.
Which is insane because I don't even think I was typing anything. But anyway, whatever. Okay, I'm jumping back in.
Okay, do it.
Okay, here we go. Hopefully I get black one. Oh, again, was it white 3 games in a row? God damn.
It was. Maybe we just have to do this more often because it's clearly feeding you.
Yeah. Oh, it's our opening. Okay. I am going to just not take and play. Fuck it. Okay. Yeah. So this guy's kind of doing the thing.
Mm-hmm. But you right now have one of the best positions to do this challenge with.
Because there's a lot of natural moves I can make.
Yeah, natural moves, and it's like the things that, like in the previous game, I think you like won a pawn early, but then he had like all these open lines and tricks, and it's tough to play those positions quickly. Because remember, like the whole point of this strat is to like not go for anything too crazy. Don't make yourself work. Have to calculate too much, etc.
Yeah. I'm just gonna take that. I think that's my bad bishop. Okay. Well, why don't I do? Can I go b3? I'm not gonna think about it too much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna think about it too much. Oh, interesting. Sure. Okay. I don't know. I'm just gonna play a4. I feel like I need to move my. Okay.
Rook.
Yeah, well, rook, yeah. But I also feel like I need to get my bishop somewhere a little bit better. So maybe I go like here. Okay. Seems reasonable. I don't mind that too much, actually. I think.
Agree. Eyes on the prize, baby.
Yep. So
What you'll notice about yourself is that you're the opposite of this style because your opponents all do it to you.
I can't even describe how accurate the thing you just said is. Like, I can't even I almost want to like pause and just think about what you just said for like the rest of the day. Because that's the truest shit I think I've heard in my fucking life. This is all they do against me. And I don't want to be them. Oh my God. Okay, I want to. What do I want to do? I think I want to trade my light square bishop for that knight. I'm scared of that pawn can't roll too far though. Excuse me. Okay. I'm down on fucking time again.
Surprise,
I guess what's that?
Baby.
Surprise, man. Yeah. Surprise. I'm gonna go. Let's say here first. But yeah, that pawn chain is now really powerful. So I maybe I didn't spend enough. I don't know. Maybe I didn't identify how important it was that I nip this in the bud. Because okay, let me see if I can get away with this. Think about this. I don't really know what to think about this. Okay, do I take the knight? I mean, I could also just fuck her, dude. Yeah, this is all they do against him. This is literally, oh my God.
Because he's moving very quickly.
Yeah, he is.
Very quickly.
He is.
You know, there hasn't really been a move where you spent more than 15 seconds, I would say.
Nah, not really. I'm going to attempt to catch up on time. Although that might not even be the right choice at this point. This might be the kind of position where I actually objectively should spend a little more time and not, damn, that would, well, I don't get mated per se, but that's uncomfortable. Maybe, well, maybe actually, yeah, maybe this is fucking toast after some kind of, do I take that? I can't take that.
Like, I think objectively you were very close to completely fucked there. But this is what I'm telling you. Yeah. The guy spends 10 seconds on a move and, you know, it's very far from top tier.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty fucked one way or the other. Let's just play H3.
There we go. Finally
let's just play H3. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, right. Okay, fuck you. But I'm down a minute and a half, and he's better. Motherfucker, I was really hoping he'd blunder and take the other way. What about just that? How's this? How's this move? What do you think about that? Fuck your fucking pawn. Son of a bitch. Well, he's got one more, though. He's got another pawn. I hate this shit. They do all play like this. Oh, God. Man, this is tough.
Yeah, your games are literally time trials.
That's the truest shit anyone's ever said to me, and I hate how true it is.
It's like a video game.
I've got so little time I gotta take. I'm sorry. I hate this guy.
It's like, can you beat the level before time expires? Because clearly the time on their clock is irrelevant to your games.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude. Fuck you. Hate this guy. Ugh. Damn. Yeah, this is really tough. I don't know if I miss some only move or something. I'm gonna try this. Gotta mix it up somehow.
I like that move from you.
Glad someone likes it. I don't. I don't like anything that's happening right now. This sucks ass. This sucks ass. Man, he's got 2 pass pawns and my king's nowhere near fucking anything. Okay. No, rook fucking fuck. I don't know. I'm gonna have to get my king I'm gonna have to get my king stopping the e-pawn, I guess. Which, man, this is common. You are right. This is a, you know.
But another common thing is while people do this to you, I'm sure another commonality is the fact that the reason that you lose these games, if you look at this, like, you didn't need to spend all the time that you spent trying to be a genius. Look at how bad your opponent is. It's now a draw. Like, and the reason that you might lose this game is going to be time, right? It's not going to be the board. He messed things up royally to allow you to, well, essentially draw this game.
Oh, no.
No, but he wants to try to beat you. You're going to beat him now.
Or am I? I am.
Well, he's clearly trying to flag you, which is a good thing. This is good for your chances because you need to make immediate moves, pre-moves. And if he tries to beat you, he will lose. Let's see. Oh, you have the chance of a lifetime, buddy.
Yeah, I know. It's not much time, though.
No, but it's doable.
Yeah.
Yep, make 2 queens. Put them together.
I don't know how many. Do I have enough moves? 0.9.
Oh.
I'm going the wrong way.
Change them.
I changed it. Is that enough moves?
Yep.
0.5. 0.4.
You see what I'm talking about, buddy? You see what I'm talking about? Just a little bit of confidence.
I hate my life.
Just a little bit of confidence.
Dude.
That was a beast performance. That was a beast performance.
Why did I win? Why did I fucking win? That made no sense. What the fuck did this guy do?
Toph, I'm gonna tell you something that I share with my chat every day.
What?
And it's crucial that you hear this. Now, in this game, you witness what I'm about to say to the maximum. Like, you just asked, why the hell did I win that? And I will explain to you why. Because throughout this game, you know, you were basically down on time, but if you compare the quality of moves, you were actually dead lost in this game many times. But as bad as it is that you were dead lost, he never capitalized on a single one of those chances because he's a quick player. He's a 15-second per move player. Those guys are not going to notice all the points where they're dead winning. Now, if he noticed every single one, honestly, this game would have been lost 30 moves ago or something. It was rough for you early on. But the fact of the matter is, you are 1750, let's say-ish right now. And you saw how you played that game. You were in so many spots you were dead lost. Now, that's because you suck. And your opponents, you have to remember, they're the same rating as you. They suck as well. They're shit. Yeah. They're not good players, Toph. And your opponent demonstrated that this game. You just need to remind yourself of that at some point. Like, just slap yourself in the face during the middle of the game and remind yourself that this guy's actually not better than me.
Shit.
And if I'm capable of making X number of mistakes in the game, he's capable of making the same or more. And he did. He actually did in this game. Now, you pulled it off in buzzer beater fashion, which was great. But my point is, like, you investing X amount of time is not gonna change the outcome of the game. So you could have had probably all this with more time on the clock because you actually defended better than you were giving yourself credit for. He missed a lot of spots to win against you, but your opponent's not going to play a perfect game. They never are. They're 1700s, dude. They're going to be blundering. Look how bad this guy blundered. He had two pass pawns. He had checkmate, rookie 1, pretty much, like, dead on the board earlier. We're talking about -10 positions. We're talking about, like, end games where you've got 10 seconds and it's a rook end game and he can't flag you. We're talking about a guy with 2 pass pawns, 2 moves away from queening, and he can't queen a single one of them. Like, this guy made more blunders than you, maybe objectively.
Yeah.
And I told you at the end, this is a very common phenomenon. They see you have 10 seconds, they have 2 minutes. They're a bad player. They fucked it up. They know they should have beat you already. But now they're like, oh, the only way I can beat him is to flag him. And that works in your favor. Now they try to flag you, and because they want to not repeat and not draw, they try to flag you. It's actually you who has all the winning chances.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great. That was like a wicked finish. I was, you realize that the guy was not playing as fast as you, right? If he was pre-moving at the end there, when your queens went the wrong way, you were fucked. Because there's no way you could change the direction without canceling them.
In time.
Exactly. But he was playing so slow that you could redo them, which was awesome. So you got to be more proud of that performance. I thought that was sick. You showed a lot of good qualities at the end, but you also exposed yourself multiple games so far that this style, you're like me, dude. This style works well against you. It really does. Well, it's an effective style. You gotta master it yourself.
The only way that I've beaten this style is outplaying on the board historically. Like I'll give you a good example. There's this guy at one of the places I go for over the board blitz, and he challenges people, and he's not that strong. I don't know. He's probably 1,400, 1,500 in USCF terms.
Gotcha.
And it's funny. He challenges people to 1.5 minutes to 3-minute time odds. Even though he's not a title player or anything, he's actually like lower than my level. But he's really fast. And I played him a couple games, and I said, no fucking time odds. We'll just play 3 minutes over the board, 3+0. And both games, I was under a minute. He had over 2 minutes. But both games, I checkmated him that I played this guy. So the only way that and this guy plays the London as white, and as black, I think he played E4, H5. A5, E4, A5, E4, A5, and then I think move 2, he played B5. He's just that kind of bra. And I mean, I beat him by checkmating him. But I never have been able to, or even really tried to, fight fire with fire.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So
stick to your guns.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's something that I need to.
I think as you develop into a player, like, you know, I'm giving advice, and I could be easily taking the exact same advice for myself in my own games. But I think as you develop into a player, you develop strong suits, and, you know, once you're much stronger, you can pick and choose how you want to play the game. You're 1,700. You're still molding. Like, you can't decide right now that you're not going to fight fire with fire and not be able to keep up with someone. You're like, yo, I'm a purist. I'm only going to win over the board. Oh. It's like, it's not going to happen, and you shouldn't make that decision so early. You're not good enough yet to do that reliably every game. Like, we've seen a couple games where you've been crushing, but until your conversion becomes flawless, that's not a good strategy to have, because it's not guaranteed. Like, there are a lot of positions where I feel like my conversion is flawless with X time given X advantage, or sorry, given Y advantage. But for you, I don't think you know those limits yet. So yeah, you can keep trying, but I also think it's another thing to be very good at: playing quickly, being tricky, being resourceful, and finding an average move quickly is a skill.
I've just one question objectively just about the game, like beyond this. So intuitively, I felt like sacrificing the A pawn was fine. But then I think I realized after the fact that part of the reason I thought it was fine was because I wanted to get rook A1 in one day. And once I realized that was very difficult to make happen, because I did do something about the B3 knight first, I was like, oh, actually, maybe it's not so easy. And then that A pawn of theirs started rolling really fast. So
this is true.
After let's say move 19.
Yeah.
Let's say he takes, queen takes A4. And this is the only question I really have about the game itself.
Yeah.
What would you have done?
Well, if you're ever happy with sacking a pawn, especially if it's on one side of the board, like sometimes if you sack a pawn on the king side and your king is like on the opposite side, then you could say, oh, I'm sacking the pawn to actually use the open space to attack the king. But for the most part, if your kings or castle on the same side and you sack something on the opposite side, or on either side, if you sack something on one side, you generally play on the other. So when you say you're happy sacking this pawn, it's like, I'm not happy giving up the A pawn and then just suddenly playing on the queen side, because like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm just down a pawn now. So I'm sacking the pawn, and I'm using the fact that black invested time going to the queen side to take it. That's my compensation. So I would probably make moves on the king side here. Something like knight F5, pawn F4 to F5, bishop F3, just stuff like that. Like I'd be looking only at the king side.
Got you.
Because you're not
Are
doing,
you not
you're not going to be better on the queen side. You're down a pawn on the queen side. If anything, black's pawn on a6 is running to a4, and he's going to be way better on the queen side. So the only reason you're happy about giving up a pawn there is black had to spend time taking it and move his queen, to an offside position.
He got a5 and a4 in pretty quick. And I see that even after a4, I mean, okay, and it says it's better for black, but it's not like fucking crushing. Even though I will say this was pretty scary.
It looks very scary to me, and my feeling is like it should be very crushing for black. So I agree. The eval doesn't represent what I feel about the position either.
How would you and so you're saying, and this is just a follow-up question. You were saying you would plan the king side, get your counterplay, your indirect counterplay. And I know you got to go soon, by the way. I know it's 3 p.m. But is there anything that you would have directly done to stop?
So I liked a lot of your decisions that you made earlier. The decisions you made later, I hated almost every single one of them. AKA,
I bet
knight c6, knight c6 to knight b4. Waste of time. Don't know what the knight's doing on b4. It looks like a bad piece.
Yeah.
Rook a2 and rook b2. Don't know what they're doing there. Rooks almost never, ever, ever, ever in chess operate well when they're like together, as in on the same rank, and that rank is not the first rank.
Yeah.
If they're on the same rank and it's not the first or the 8th rank, like they don't operate well. Of course, rooks on the 7th are good. That's like an aggressive thing. For black, rooks on the 2nd would be good. Doubled, whatever. Right. But like when there's multiple pieces on the board and it's just the middle game, the rooks are just shit there because, well, you saw what happened. He played rook e8, and it's like, why is it move 28 and the e1 square is not covered by any of your pieces? That's a very bad sign.
Yeah, that was really, really fucking scary. So here, just fucking rip the bishop. Like, so knight takes bishop.
Take it back to before knight c6, because I don't like knight c6.
Yeah.
So queen b8, black just played?
Queen b8, yep.
And then I like your moves up till here. What about bishop c2? Put that bishop on a very useful square. What about pawn to f4? Gives your king some breathing room. Pawn to f5 might kick that bishop away. Supports the knight. Probably something like bishop c2, f4, maybe knight h5. Get rid of his knight on that king side.
Got it. And if he ever goes a3, I have rook a2.
That's right. a3, rook a2, which also means that your rook on b1, I know you put it there. I wouldn't have even put it there. Like, you played rook e1 to b1 earlier. I wouldn't have even bothered. I would have set a rook on a2 because I know I need to have one there. And then I would have played bishop d1 and like rerouted things, f4, whatever. But okay, you put it there. It's not a big deal. I would probably play bishop c2. Black does whatever. Plant the rook on a2. Bring the other rook over to f1 or e1. f4, f5. Maybe try to trade the f6 knight and try to attack with the bishop from c2.
Got it.
Okay. And then, your opponent missed a lot of stuff. You had a nice tactic. Rook takes b3. The thing is, after queen d3 and the queen's traded on move 36, Engine's going to be like, dude, -5. You're dead. Like, black will queen one of those pawns. You're fucked. But the thing is, your opponent's not that good. You got to remember that.
Yeah.
They're not going to convert things properly. Like, you're dead here in this position. Play quickly. If you're dead, you're dead. Like, if they're good enough to convert it, then there's nothing you can do. You can't change the evaluation. But you can keep up with the evaluation, and chances are your opponent might not.
I can't believe, honestly, if there's one move I can't believe they played, it's letting me trade rooks. I can't believe they let me trade rooks.
Trade rooks.
like straight up the only way.
At the very end.
As soon as the rooks, if he just fucking goes anywhere else, like if he goes rook a6.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Fucking keeps checking me. I'm so fucked. I'm fucked 6 ways from Sunday.
And that is how the game will end. And then it's like, you look back on that game and you'd be so tilted because you're like, wait, this guy's so bad. Like, he's so bad. He played so quickly. And then how did I mess that up? And then once I messed it up, he was so bad because he couldn't beat me. And then I got all the way to a draw, and he's so bad he couldn't beat me on the board. And guess what? You still lost the game because it's on time. And that's why you need to keep up with your opponent, because there's no way that your opponent should be up 3 minutes and have a dominating position on you. It should be like one or the other. Like, if they're up 3 minutes and they're crushing you, then you just got absolutely owned that game. Now, obviously, games like that happen, but I just mean you shouldn't have like a large number of games that trend in that direction.
Right. Yeah, that is super duper true. That is super duper true.
Mr. Toph, that was a great finish, though. Seriously, not a lot of people could pull off that technique at the end to still make it happen. Like, you did that not only from the start where you were shuffling, you end up winning all his pawns. You knew you weren't going to lose because you had all his pawns, but
yeah,
you also went the wrong way with your queens and were able to like recalibrate midair. Like, that was impressive.
Yeah, I should have just played it before moving the queens. I should have played fucking King H7 and then nothing.
Yeah, I think that's always good. Like, get all the way out of the way. Sometimes you can save a second or a millisecond by not doing it, and 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna have this situation where they're like just underneath your king. So a little bit unlucky. So I don't really mind any decision you made there.
Fair.
Because you got to maximize as well, right? You can't be wasting too many king moves when you've only got literally 1 second. So.
Right, because that's 10 moves.
Exactly.
you lose one. You lose
exactly.
whatever. Yeah. Exactly. Oh man, what a fucking finish! That was some shit.
That was great though.
I was gonna be happy with a draw at that point. I was gonna be like, fuck you.
And if you had more time on the clock, I was like, oh, maybe we'll see the king and queen thing that I was talking about. But then you had 2 pawns, so I was like, no, this is because you're down to 1 second. You have 2 queens. It's perfect. You're either gonna do it just in time, or you're not even gonna be close.
Yeah.
And
can you even do the king and queen with 1 second? Probably not, right?
No.
It's more than 10 moves.
No, not the way I'm doing it. You can do a king and queen, but you have to make some lucky guesses.
I got you. The one you do, what do you need? You need like roughly 2.5 seconds?
Probably 2.5. You could do it in 2 seconds, but then that's like no room for error. 2.5 is like comfy, and anything more than 2.5 is like, you just definitely do it. Because then you don't even need to pre-move sometimes.
Yeah. Got you. All right. Well, thanks for everything, Amon. I saw Stans in my chat. I got mixed up. This was super helpful, and I'm going to be working on this throughout the week. Let's put it that way.
Let's go. I like that. Yeah, man. I do have to go as well. Like, also to people in my chat. Like, I'm not going to be hanging today because I am going to check out a new boxing gym. So we just handled some chess. I'm gonna go do some boxing now. Toph, when's your next session? Yourself?
Oh yeah. My next boxing session? Probably tonight. Well, actually, I'm 50-50. Tonight, I either am going to go play a blitz tournament or I'm going to box. They both start at 7 p.m., so I got to decide what
I like the sound of both of those.
Yeah, they're both helpful. It's just that's the funny part is I'm like I have to like stat my points into one or the other, I have to be efficient about it. It's like, what am I fucking worse at right now? I've been doing I've already had 2 boxing sessions since I got back from Detroit, so I might play chess, but I'm not sure. We'll see.
I like the blitz angle, but I don't think you can go wrong with those choices.
Yeah, neither one's bad. So is what it is. All right, good luck with that. I'm curious to hear. And you still haven't sparred yet? Have you sparred?
No, I'll be doing that at this gym for sure.
No. Okay, yeah. Can't wait to hear about that when that happens.
Yeah, man.
But all right, buddy, best of luck.
Yeah, thanks for coming on nice and early as well on your end. And we're just gonna, once again, !Toph. Go give him a follow, guys. He'll be boxing on the same card as your boy. The next fight, it's like I almost want to call it co-main event. Like, I know mine's like the main event, but still, yours is right before prime time slot.
It is. It'll be really interesting. I mean, Sardosh is a PogChamps winner, right? So at the end of the day, he's got that experience. It's gonna be really different,
coming in with a belt,
obviously.
PogChamps
but he's
belt.
coming in right, and he's coming in as somebody who's shown up in one of these, I don't know what you want to call them, chess tourists, influencer events.
Exactly.
He's got more experience there than I do. So
for sure,
it's going to be interesting from that perspective. I'm actually also probably going to end stream because I actually am going to go lift.
Okay, sick.
Because I think so you're not like Eric's not coming on or anything.
No, right? Done for now. So I'm also raiding off somewhere else. So.
We could co-raid somebody. Yeah, let's co-raid somebody. I am going to be back live probably in about 3 hours doing some melee stuff. For y'all. Also, Stan's in the chat. Stan's also on the card. Who's going to be boxing Box.
Oh, sick.
Say that 5 times fast. And I think Box is a little bit stronger than Stan's at chess, although I have it on good faith that Stan's hits like a monster truck. So, Stans, we're gonna talk, and if you got any free time this week, we should get a chess session in because I think I can help you out a little bit.
Let's go.
I'm on level, but
it's
I think
the pyramid scheme, trickle down.
The pyramid scheme, the trickle down. I think I can help Stans out. Let's put it that way. I think I help Stans out.
All right, sick.
But yeah,
I was just looking at.
Who are we?
Yeah, exactly. I was just looking at it. Who's going right now? I see Mango, but it's not Mango, right?
Yeah, he's got the you know sometimes you'll have let's say you got Brando on there,
yeah,
or
exactly.
you have Moj or something. So let's say he's got Brando on there right now.
Okay,
he's got Brando on the case. Yeah,
I fully understand the situation.
They actually got this self-admittedly, or Mango actually got this self-admittedly. He told me, he's like, oh, I'm doing the chess pro thing. So he did get this strat from you.
Oh, there we go.
Directly. Yeah.
I like that. Who do you usually raid? Let's raid one of your boys.
Yeah. Well, hey, Stans, are you going live? I just want to ask because Stans is participating in the event. So Stans, if you're going live, I think you'd be a prime candidate. You're not going live. Okay. Well then, I always like to keep it within the directory. So like if it was me, I would raid somebody who's like streaming chess that I watch. Although I'm not usually a morning guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sometimes you're just like not at all on the usual stream schedule. And you're like, who are these people? Like.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you this. I know Ivan Chuck. I know that guy. I don't know how his streams are. I see he's got chess space open.
Yeah, I have no idea. He's deep in some analysis. So yeah, yeah, he's deep in here. We can send everyone to Ivanchuk's stream if you want. Let's do that.
Oh, actually, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. I'm down. I'm down.
Who else were you gonna say? Because Ivanchuk, the one thing is like
my co-caster Scar is streaming some Melee. And I know
that,
he doesn't stream.
The thing is, Ivanchuk's not like a streamer. Like he just throws it on. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
He just throws it on. He's a beast.
So he's Bobby. It's one word. Bobby Scar speaks.
Bobby Scar
speaks like
speaks.
Yeah, all one word, no punctuation.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see that.
S-P-A-K-S, like just speaks. Yeah,
I see that. All right, I'm gonna start that raid off.
All right, hell yeah.
So there we go. Yeah, Toph, it's been real. I'm gonna let you know, but I got a jet.
Best of luck.
Yep. Peace.
Have a good time at your new gym.
Thank you, man. I will let you know. And for everyone else in my stream, we got a sub battle tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. So it's against Anna Kramling. And it's $500 on the line. So I'm gonna need you guys there for that. 1 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
All right, I'll be in the